There is a silent war that no one sees. It doesn't rage on battlefields or in city streets. It takes place inside your very own mind. Every sleepless night, every voice of doubt, every memory that refuses to die, they rise like shadows that whisper, "You are not enough. You will fail. You cannot escape." This is the deepest human pain, the prison of our own thoughts. But what if the key to freedom has always been within you? What if every seed of fear, anger, or regret could be transformed into courage, peace, and compassion? The answer lies in a teaching so powerful, it has changed countless lives for centuries. Stay with me until the very end, because once you see the truth of your thoughts, you will never see yourself, or your life, the same way again. If this message touches your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism in every moment. Your support gives us the strength to continue creating meaningful videos that bring wisdom and peace into your life. Part 1. The Battlefield of the Mind. The night is silent. Outside, the world has gone still, yet within the walls of your own mind there is no rest. 1,000 voices whisper, collide, and echo against each other. Regrets you thought you buried long ago rise like ghosts. Fears you never confessed sharpen their teeth in the dark. The quiet room becomes a battlefield, not with swords or fire, but with thoughts that seem impossible to tame. And perhaps you know this battlefield well. You've walked across it when sleep refused to come, when the noise of your own head drowned out the silence of midnight. In this battlefield, every thought is a weapon, every memory a soldier, every fear a shadow that lingers just beyond reach. Yet there is something even more unsettling. These battles are invisible to the world. People see your smile, your calm posture, your polite words. But behind your eyes, entire wars rage with no witnesses, no allies, no audience to understand the weight you carry. This is the silent suffering most never speak of, and yet it is universal. What if I told you that every thought, no matter how fleeting, is a seed? Each one carries the power to shape not only your mind, but the landscape of your life. The mind is not an empty vessel, it is a garden, and like any garden, it responds faithfully to whatever is planted within it. Plant anger, and anger will spread like weeds, choking the roots of peace. Plant fear, and fear will grow wild, twisting itself around every choice you make. But plant compassion, plant courage, plant gratitude, and the garden flourishes into something that nourishes you and everyone who walks near it. The Buddha once said, "We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think." This is not a metaphor, it is a law as real as gravity. And yet most people live unaware of it. They allow thoughts to drift in like uninvited guests and then give them shelter. Fear knocks and they let it in. Doubt knocks and they serve it dinner. Anger arrives and they offer it a bed. Without even noticing, they have turned their home into a prison, a place where their worst thoughts rule over them. But the truth is, you are not here to live as a prisoner of your mind. You are here to awaken. You are here to take the role of the gardener, to decide with care what seeds deserve your water, your sunlight, your attention. And though it may seem daunting, this power is already within you. Look at the modern world around you. Our lives are flooded with noise that masquerades as connection. Notifications buzz at midnight. News headlines scream tragedy after tragedy. Social media whispers lies about who you should be, how you should look, what you should own. The mind, already restless, becomes a battlefield under siege. You are not only wrestling with your own fears and memories, but with a culture designed to stir them, to plant seeds of comparison, scarcity, and restlessness in the soil of your consciousness. How many times have you reached for your phone late at night, hoping for comfort, only to find more noise? How often have you scrolled past images of other lives, each one carefully curated, leaving you with the quiet ache of not being enough? These are not harmless moments, they are seeds. Each one plants itself deep within, shaping how you wake, how you walk through the day, how you see yourself in the mirror. And every seed, whether of hope or despair, grows. The Buddha's words echo louder in this age than ever before. We are shaped by our thoughts. They remind us that life is not only a matter of what happens to us, but of what we allow to take root inside us. The same event can shatter one person and strengthen another, not because the world chose differently, but because their inner garden was different. Think of it this way. Two people sit in traffic. One curses the cars, feels anger rise like fire, and carries that fire into the rest of their day. Another sits in the same traffic, breathes deeply, and chooses to see it as a moment to listen to music, to reflect, to simply be. The outside condition is identical, but the inner seed chosen makes all the difference. This is the battlefield of the mind. It is not about conquering the world. It is about choosing which thoughts you will feed and which ones you will let pass by. What makes this so difficult is that the mind is not passive. It is restless, like a monkey leaping from branch to branch, never satisfied with stillness. Left unchecked, it runs wild, dragging you from regret to fear to distraction. But awareness is the weapon, the shield, and the light that turns chaos into clarity. Awareness does not silence every thought, but it allows you to see them as they are. Just seeds, just visitors, not masters. Imagine standing in a vast field at dawn. The soil is dark and fertile, the horizon just beginning to glow with light. In your hand is a pouch filled with seeds. Some are thorny weeds, others are flowers waiting to bloom. Each morning of your life is exactly this, the choice of what to plant. Will you scatter seeds of complaint, rehearsing every wrong ever done to you? Or will you plant gratitude, noticing the warmth of the sun, the breath in your lungs, the chance to begin again? This decision is not abstract, it is destiny. And yet, here lies the painful truth. Most people never realize they are gardeners at all. They blame the soil, the rain, the season, never once looking at their own hands. They wake each morning already surrendering to the same weeds they watered yesterday. They speak the same words. I can't, I won't, I'm not enough. And life, faithful as ever, gives them exactly what they planted. But you do not have to live this way. The mind may be a battlefield, but it is also a garden. The thoughts that torment you at night are not chains you cannot break. They are seeds you do not have to water. You cannot stop every seed from blowing into your field. The winds of memory, of culture, of circumstance will always scatter them. But you can decide which ones to nurture and which ones to let wither. This is the call of the Buddha's teaching, and it is as urgent now as it was centuries ago. For if you do not learn to tend the battlefield of your mind, you will live at the mercy of forces that do not care for your peace. But if you learn to see each thought as a seed, if you learn to guard the gates of your mind, then even in the silence of the night, when shadows gather, you will no longer be a prisoner. You will be a gardener, and your life will bloom with the fragrance of freedom. And so the battlefield is before you. The question is not whether thoughts will come. They always will. The question is, which seeds will you choose to plant today? The battlefield of the mind is not a place you can see on a map, yet every human being has walked its ground. It is both intimate and universal. The silent war of thoughts is as old as time, but in today's world it has grown more relentless, more invasive, more disguised as ordinary life. In the past, people struggled with the simplicity of survival, whether hunger, labor. Now we fight with invisible forces, endless information, social comparisons, fears of not being enough. The war is quieter but no less destructive. Picture yourself late at night, lying in bed, the phone dimly glowing beside you. You tell yourself you'll only check it for a moment, perhaps to quiet your mind, perhaps to feel less alone. But minutes become hours. You scroll through endless streams of images and words, friends celebrating achievements, strangers living lives that seem brighter, richer, more complete than your own. Somewhere in your chest, a heaviness grows. The thoughts creep in silently. Why am I behind? Why can't I be like them? What if I never reach my dreams? These thoughts do not vanish when you put the phone down. They remain, planting themselves into the soil of your subconscious. By morning, they have already begun to sprout. And so the day begins on the battlefield, not with victory but with surrender. Even before you take your first conscious breath, you carry the weight of thoughts planted in the night. This is the tragedy of living without awareness. You wake already defeated, not by the world but by your own mind. Yet there is another possibility. The battlefield can be transformed into a garden. The same restless thoughts that once brought despair can become guides toward wisdom. The Buddha himself knew this. Under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, he sat through the night as waves of fear, doubt, and temptation assailed him. Mara, the lord of illusion, sent visions to shake his resolve. Armies of demons, storms of thunder, whispers of doubt, even visions of pleasure to seduce him. Yet the Buddha did not run. He did not attack. He did not hide. He simply remained still, touching the earth with his hand, declaring, "The earth is my witness." In that moment he saw every thought and every illusion for what it was, temporary, insubstantial, powerless without his consent, and because he saw them clearly they dissolved like mist at sunrise. This is the lesson at the heart of the battlefield. The goal is not to silence every thought but to see them for what they are. Anger is a thought. Fear is a thought. Doubt is a thought. None of them define who you are. They are visitors knocking at the door of your mind. You are the host. You decide who stays and who leaves, but most people do not live this way. They mistake every thought for truth, every visitor for a permanent resident. They identify so strongly with the voices in their head that they cannot distinguish between themselves and the chatter. When the thought says, "I am worthless," they believe it. When the thought says, "I will fail," they surrender to it. And so they live not as free beings but as prisoners of illusions. The Buddha's words strike like a bell in this darkness. We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. These words are both a warning and a promise. If you allow weeds to grow unchecked, they will choke the garden. But if you plant seeds of wisdom and compassion, the harvest will be peace. Imagine your mind as a vast field on the edge of dawn. The soil is fertile, ready to receive whatever you scatter upon it. Now imagine you scatter seeds of resentment, repeating to yourself, "Life is unfair. People are unkind. I will never succeed." Soon enough, resentment sprouts. You begin to see evidence of it everywhere, in a colleague's tone of voice, in a stranger's indifference, in your own reflection. The field becomes overgrown with thorns, and every step you take cuts deeper. But if you scatter seeds of gratitude, "I am alive today. I have the chance to begin again. There is beauty even in small moments," then gratitude sprouts. You begin to notice it in the kindness of a stranger, in the warmth of sunlight, in the laughter of a friend. The field blooms with flowers, and every step carries the fragrance of joy. The soil does not care what you plant. It will return whatever you give it. The responsibility rests with you. This truth is simple, yet it demands courage. For many people, it is easier to complain about the weeds than to take responsibility for planting them. It is easier to say, "My life is miserable because of others," than to admit, "I have watered thoughts of misery every day." But until you accept this responsibility, you remain powerless. When you see that your inner seeds shape your outer world, you reclaim the power to choose. This is not to say that pain is imaginary or that suffering is self-inflicted. Life brings storms no matter how well you tend your garden. Illness comes, losses happen, tragedies unfold. But even in the storm, the garden responds to the seeds you plant. Two people may face the same hardship. One grows bitter, the other grows wiser. The difference lies not in the storm, but in the seeds. Let us look deeper into the battlefield of the modern mind. Work deadlines, financial stress, fractured relationships, these are common battlefronts. Each one generates thoughts that can either enslave or liberate. When faced with overwhelming work, the mind can say, "I am drowning, I cannot cope," and the weight becomes unbearable. Or it can say, "I will take one step at a time, I will learn, I will grow," and suddenly the same workload becomes manageable. The circumstance has not changed, but the inner battlefield has shifted from despair to resilience. Or consider relationships. A harsh word from someone you love can plant a seed of anger that grows into resentment. You replay the moment again and again, each repetition watering the weed. Soon, your entire view of that person is colored by anger. But what if in the same moment you planted a different seed? What if you paused, breathed, and said to yourself, "This is pain, but perhaps they too are suffering"? That single thought of compassion becomes a seed that grows into forgiveness. The outer words are the same, but the inner battlefield has changed everything. And what of fear, the most persistent enemy of the mind? Fear whispers constantly, "You cannot, you will fail, you are not ready." Fear builds walls around your possibilities, shrinking your life into a smaller and smaller space. But when you face fear with awareness, you see its illusion. Fear is a shadow with no substance. It cannot harm you unless you give it power. Each time you act despite fear, you plant a seed of courage. And courage, when watered, grows stronger than fear itself. Perhaps the most subtle battlefield is the one created by comparison. In the digital age, we are constantly bombarded with images of other lives. A stranger's vacation, a colleague's promotion, a friend's celebration all appear before our eyes in endless streams. Without awareness, each image plants seeds of envy, of inadequacy, of longing for a life that is not yours. Soon you begin to feel small, incomplete, unworthy. But when you see these thoughts clearly, you can choose differently. You can remind yourself, "What I see is only a moment, not the whole truth. My path is my own. My worth is not measured by another's highlight reel." This simple shift uproots envy and replaces it with contentment. The battlefield of the mind is not a curse, it is an opportunity. Every thought is a chance to practice. Every emotion is a chance to choose. You cannot stop the war from unfolding, but you can decide how to fight. Not with anger, not with suppression, but with awareness and choice. This is the power of being human. Unlike the waves of the ocean or the winds of the sky, you are not bound to drift endlessly. You have the gift of awareness. You can pause, observe, and plant deliberately, and with each choice you shape your destiny. So tonight, when the voices rise again in the silence, remember this: the battlefield is not outside you. It is within. The enemy is not life, not other people, not fate. The enemy is the unguarded mind, the thoughts left untended. But the victory is also within your grasp. It begins the moment you see a thought for what it is, a seed. And it deepens every time you choose to plant wisely. The battlefield of the mind is not won in a single moment of triumph, nor lost in a single night of despair. It is shaped slowly through countless small encounters with your own thoughts. Each breath, each reaction, each inner whisper is another step on this battlefield. Some steps lead deeper into fear, others into freedom. The choice is not dramatic, it is quiet, almost imperceptible. Yet those quiet choices, repeated, form the foundation of your entire life. Think of the habits that define your days. The way you greet the morning, the way you respond to frustration, the way you end the evening. Each of these is built from thoughts that once seemed small. A person who wakes and immediately checks their phone has trained their mind to be reactive. They are pulled into the world's noise before their own awareness even has a chance to rise. Another person wakes and takes one deep breath, planting a seed of gratitude before the day begins. Over time, the difference becomes vast. One garden grows wild with weeds, the other with blossoms. And yet the difference began with nothing more than a single thought at the break of day. This is why awareness is so vital. Without it, life is lived on autopilot. You repeat the same grooves of thought, the same patterns of reaction, the same stories of self, never realizing that you are reinforcing the very suffering you wish to escape. Awareness interrupts the autopilot. It shines a light into the battlefield, revealing that you are not bound by the same old path. In that moment, you can choose a new direction. But choice alone is not enough. Choice must be repeated. Just as a river carves a canyon not with one surge of water but with steady flow over centuries, the mind is reshaped not by a single act of will but by consistent practice. The Buddha compared this to training an ox. At first, the ox resists, pulling wildly against the rope, straining against guidance. But with patience and consistency, the ox learns to walk calmly. In the same way, your mind may resist awareness. It will try to return to the grooves of fear, anger, and doubt. But if you gently return again and again, the mind too will learn to walk in peace. Perhaps you know this resistance well. You try to meditate and the mind floods with thoughts. You attempt gratitude, but complaints feel louder. You strive for patience, yet anger returns quickly. In these moments, it is easy to believe that transformation is impossible. But remember the bamboo. For years it grows underground, invisible. Farmers water the soil faithfully, yet see no shoots. Then in a single season the bamboo rises taller than most trees. The years of unseen growth made the sudden rise possible. Your practice is the same. Each act of awareness, each seed of kindness, each pause of patience may seem small, but together they are preparing the roots of transformation. When the time is right, change will rise. On this battlefield, patience is as essential as courage. Without patience, you will give up when results seem slow. Without courage, you will retreat when fear appears. Together, patience and courage allow you to remain steady, to keep planting wholesome seeds even when the weeds seem endless. Let us consider the weeds more closely. What are the most common intruders in the garden of the mind? Fear, anger, envy, doubt. Each appears in countless disguises. Fear may arrive as hesitation, as overthinking, as the quiet voice that says, "Not now, not you, not this." Anger may appear as irritation in traffic, as bitterness toward a colleague, as the memory of an old wound replayed again and again. Envy creeps in through comparison, turning another's joy into your sorrow. Doubt whispers that your effort is wasted, that your dreams are foolish, that your heart is weak. These are the weeds that spread when left unchecked. But weeds are not enemies to be hated, they are signals. Their presence shows you where attention is needed. Just as a gardener does not curse the weeds but patiently removes them, you too must meet these thoughts with awareness, not hostility. When fear appears, do not fight it angrily. See it, name it, allow it to pass. When anger rises, do not suppress it. Notice it, breathe. Replace it with a seed of compassion. When envy whispers, turn your gaze to gratitude. When doubt speaks, answer with trust. This is not easy, but it is possible. And every time you practice, you strengthen the garden of your mind. Slowly, the weeds lose their hold and the blossoms take root. Consider also the environment of your garden. Just as soil is influenced by sun, rain, and season, your mind is influenced by what you consume. Every word you read, every sound you hear, every image you see is a seed planted within you. If you spend hours immersed in anger, news headlines designed to provoke, conversations dripping with gossip, shows filled with violence, then anger will grow. If you surround yourself with kindness, uplifting words, peaceful music, inspiring stories, then kindness will grow. The Buddha called this guarding the senses. It is not about shutting out the world, but about choosing wisely what you allow in. Think about how you feel after spending time with someone who constantly complains. Their words linger in your mind, heavy and bitter. Now think of how you feel after being with someone calm and kind. Their presence lingers too, but as warmth and peace. The outer influence becomes an inner seed. The same is true of everything you consume. The mind is not empty. It is always receiving, always planting. Guard the gates of your senses, and you guard the gates of your mind. This battlefield is not fought with violence. It is fought with awareness, compassion, and choice. It is won not by suppressing thoughts, but by transforming them. Hatred does not end by hatred, but by love. Fear does not end by denial, but by courage. Doubt does not end by avoidance, but by trust. This is the eternal law, and it applies as much to your inner life as it does to the outer world. Some may wonder, why does this matter? Why fight this inner battle when the world itself is filled with so much chaos? Because the world you see is a reflection of the world you carry within. A mind filled with anger sees enemies everywhere. A mind filled with compassion sees teachers everywhere. The outer storm is the same, but the inner lens determines your experience. To change your world, you must first change your mind. Imagine two monks walking through a rainstorm. One curses the sky, bitter at the cold, angry at the wet. The other simply walks, feeling the drops as part of life, neither resisting nor resenting. The storm is the same, but their inner gardens are different. The first planted bitterness, the second planted acceptance. Which life would you rather live? This is the invitation of the battlefield. It is not a punishment, it is a chance. A chance to reclaim the power you may have forgotten. A chance to shape your life from within, rather than be shaped endlessly by forces without. When you begin to see the battlefield in this way, it becomes less frightening. You no longer view your thoughts as enemies to destroy, but as visitors to observe. Some you welcome, some you release. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them, the sky that holds the clouds, the soil that receives the seeds. This realization is the beginning of freedom. And from freedom, transformation becomes possible. The garden of your mind, once tangled with weeds, begins to bloom. You notice yourself less reactive, more patient, more compassionate. You find beauty where you once saw only pain. You feel gratitude where you once felt lack. Life itself begins to change, not because the outer world has become easier, but because your inner world has become wiser. So tonight, when you lie in silence and the voices rise again, remember this teaching. Every thought is a seed. The battlefield is not outside, it is within. And you always are the gardener. Plant wisely, for the harvest will come, and it will mirror exactly what you chose to sow. Part 2. Seeds we plant, harvest we reap. Imagine a vast field stretching endlessly under the wide skies of Kansas, where golden waves of wheat ripple in the wind. The farmer walks the rows with steady hands, scattering seeds into the fertile soil. The land does not question him, nor does it resist. It simply receives. Whatever he plants, it will faithfully return. If he plants wheat, he will harvest wheat. If he plants weeds, weeds will take over. The law is simple, consistent, and inescapable. And so it is with the mind. Your thoughts are seeds. Every idea, every word you whisper to yourself, every image you hold in your imagination, they are all seeds falling into the soil of your consciousness. The mind, like the Kansas earth, does not discriminate. It does not pause to ask whether what you plant is wise or destructive. It simply nourishes what you give it. If you sow anger, anger grows. If you sow fear, fear multiplies. If you sow compassion, compassion flourishes. This is not abstract philosophy. It is a law as real as the cycles of the seasons. Consider the seeds of negativity. A single thought, I am not good enough, seems harmless at first, a passing cloud across your sky. But repeated day after day, it becomes a seed watered with attention, and soon it grows into a tree whose roots sink deep into your sense of self. You begin to act from this belief, shrinking from opportunities, doubting your voice, comparing yourself endlessly to others. One seed becomes a forest of fear, shaping the way you walk through life. Or take anger, a small irritation in traffic, a quick spark of frustration at work. Left unchecked, these sparks plant seeds of resentment. Watered daily by complaints, they grow into habits of hostility, until you view the world as an enemy and every stranger as a threat. On the other hand, positive seeds carry a different harvest. Imagine planting courage. At first, it feels small, fragile, almost laughable. You tell yourself, I will try, I will rise again. It does not erase fear, but it grows alongside it. Each time you choose to act despite trembling, you water courage. Each time you fall but rise again, you strengthen its roots. Over time, courage grows taller than fear, shading it until fear no longer dominates your life. Or plant compassion, the thought, they too are suffering. Each time you choose this seed, anger has less room to thrive. The harvest becomes forgiveness, patience, and a heart capable of embracing the world. The beauty of this law is that it works in the smallest of ways. It is not grand gestures that transform your life, but small daily plantings. Think of a woman in Kansas, waking early before her shift in the wheat fields. She could begin her day with the thought, this is hard, I am tired, I cannot bear this. That seed would grow heavy in her chest, coloring her every step. But if she begins with, I am grateful for this day, for the chance to work, for the bread this labor will bring, the seed of gratitude lightens her burden. The work is the same, but the inner harvest is different. The same is true for you. Every choice you make in thought is like a farmer's hand scattering seeds. Do you realize the power you hold? Most people walk through life scattering unconsciously, unaware of what they plant. They repeat words of complaint, dwell on memories of pain, water fear with attention. And then they wonder why their field is filled with thorns. Yet the law is faithful. What you plant, you will reap. This truth is not meant to condemn but to awaken. It means you are never powerless. No matter what your field looks like today, you can plant anew tomorrow. Even if your soil is thick with weeds, even if fear has taken root for years, the power of a new seed remains. One thought of gratitude can break the monotony of complaint. One act of kindness can pierce the armor of anger. One moment of courage can tilt the balance against fear. The harvest may not appear immediately, just as wheat does not sprout the day it is sown. But with patience, the new crop will rise. Think of the small choices you make daily. Do you reach for your phone upon waking, flooding your mind with noise? Or do you take a breath and offer thanks for life? Do you replay insults in your head, or do you let them pass and focus on what nourishes you? Do you assume the worst of others, or do you give them the benefit of the doubt? Each of these is a seed, small yet powerful, determining the harvest of your day and over time the harvest of your life. The farmers of Kansas understand this intuitively. They know that careless planting leads to poor harvests, and that faithful sowing, even in hard soil, eventually yields abundance. They do not expect instant results. They respect the seasons, trusting that what they plant today will bear fruit in its own time. You too must learn this patience. When you plant courage today, do not despair if fear still lingers tomorrow. When you plant compassion, do not expect anger to vanish overnight. Like the wheat, these seeds need time, but they will grow as surely as the sun rises over the fields. Science affirms what the Buddha taught long ago. Neuroscientists speak of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through repeated thought and action. Every thought strengthens certain neural pathways, making them easier to travel next time. Negative thoughts carve grooves of despair. Positive thoughts carve grooves of resilience. This is nothing other than the modern language of seeds and harvest. What you think repeatedly, you become. What you water daily, you embody. Pause for a moment and reflect. What seeds are you planting most often? Do you water worry more than gratitude? Do you scatter seeds of judgment more than compassion? Do you dwell more on what is lacking than on what is already present? The field of your mind is honest. It will reveal the truth. Look at your life today and you will see the harvest of your past thoughts. If the harvest is bitter, do not despair. Plant differently and the future will change. Let us consider a real example. A man loses his job unexpectedly. His first thought is, "I am ruined, I will never recover." That seed grows into despair. He stops trying, withdraws from friends, and sinks into bitterness. Another man in the same situation thinks, "This is painful, but perhaps it opens a new door." That seed grows into resilience. He learns new skills, meets new people, and eventually finds a path more aligned with his heart. The outer circumstance is identical, but the inner planting creates a different harvest. Or think of a young woman facing heartbreak. Her thoughts could be, "I am unlovable. I will always be abandoned." These seeds grow into walls around her heart, preventing her from loving again. But if she chooses, "This pain will teach me compassion, I will love more wisely," then the seed of growth turns her wound into wisdom. Again, the soil is the same, but the planting changes everything. In truth, you are planting seeds even now as you listen to these words. They too will take root, whether as inspiration or dismissal. The mind is always receiving, always sowing. The question is not whether seeds will be planted, but which ones. So how do you become a mindful farmer of your own mind? First, awareness. Notice the seeds you scatter. Do not let them slip by unnoticed. Second, intention. Choose what you wish to plant. Do not wait for the weeds of habit to decide for you. Third, patience. Trust the process, knowing that growth takes time. And fourth, consistency. A single seed planted once will not change the field, but seeds planted daily, watered with attention, will transform the landscape. The Kansas wheat fields remind us that abundance is not an accident. It is the result of deliberate planting, faithful tending, and trust in the unseen seasons. Your life is no different. The harvest you long for, peace, love, strength, depends not on luck but on what you plant in the soil of your mind. When you look back years from now, you will see clearly the crops you chose to grow. Will your field be filled with bitterness or with compassion, with weeds of regret or with flowers of joy? The choice is yours, and it begins with a single thought planted today. So walk into your field with awareness. Scatter seeds of courage where fear once grew. Plant gratitude in the empty places of your life. Water compassion where anger has taken root. Tend carefully, faithfully, with patience. And trust this unbreakable truth. The harvest will come, and it will be exactly what you planted. Walk again through the Kansas fields in your imagination, this time at dusk. The horizon glows with amber light, and the farmer walks slowly, inspecting his rows. He knows that not every seed will sprout, not every stalk will reach maturity. Some will be eaten by birds, some scorched by sun, some lost to storm. Yet he does not despair. He plants more, he waters faithfully, and he trusts the process. This patience is not resignation, it is wisdom. For he knows that abundance does not come from clinging to each seed, but from faith in the cycle of planting and harvest. Your mind works the same way. Not every positive thought will immediately bear fruit. You may practice gratitude and still feel moments of lack. You may plant courage and still feel fear. You may sow compassion and still feel anger rise within you. Do not despair. These seeds, even if unseen, are alive beneath the surface. They are shaping you silently, preparing to sprout when the season is right. The unseen work is no less important than what blooms above the soil. The danger lies not in imperfection, but in giving up. Too many abandon their gardens because they expect instant results. They meditate once and find their mind restless, so they quit. They try kindness once and are met with indifference, so they retreat. They offer forgiveness once and feel the sting of old pain return, so they conclude it is impossible. But a farmer who planted wheat and saw no sprouts after one day would be foolish to abandon the field. He knows that growth takes time. Should your mind be any different? Let us look at the weeds again, for they too teach us. Weeds grow quickly, often faster than the crops we desire. Why? Because they require little care. Negativity spreads effortlessly because the mind's survival instincts cling to it. We remember insults longer than compliments. We fear danger more than we savor joy. This is the mind's way of protecting us, but if left unchecked, it chokes our peace. The weeds remind us that without deliberate planting, the field will not remain empty. It will be overtaken. To leave your mind unattended is to invite weeds. But here is the hope. Just as weeds are pulled, so too can negative patterns be uprooted. Each time you interrupt a cycle of anger, each time you replace complaint with gratitude, you are pulling weeds. It may feel tiring at first, but over time the weeds lessen. The soil becomes easier to tend. The flowers have more room to grow. The garden becomes a place of beauty rather than struggle. Reflect on the seeds of regret. Many carry them unknowingly, replaying mistakes like broken records. I should have done better. I should have chosen differently. I should have spoken up. These seeds, watered daily with guilt, grow into sorrow that overshadows the present, but regret, when seen clearly, can be transformed. Plant instead the seed of learning. Say to yourself, I did not know then what I know now. I will carry this lesson forward. That thought, repeated, turns regret into wisdom. The past cannot be changed, but the harvest of the future can. Fear, too, deserves our attention. It is perhaps the most common seed, planted not only by our own thoughts but by the culture we live in. Advertisements tell us we are not enough. News headlines scream danger. Social media whispers that we are missing out. Fear grows easily because it is constantly scattered by the world around us. Yet even fear, when met with courage, can be transformed. Courage does not mean the absence of fear, but the decision to plant something stronger beside it. Each time you act despite trembling, you water courage. Each time you speak your truth despite doubt, you strengthen its roots. Eventually, the harvest is not a life without fear, but a life where fear no longer rules. Anger is another seed that multiplies quickly. A harsh word, a rude gesture, an injustice. These moments scatter anger like dandelion fluff on the wind. Soon the field is covered and peace feels impossible. But anger, too, can be redirected. Underneath anger is often hurt, and beneath hurt is longing for respect, for love, for understanding. When you look deeper, you can plant compassion where anger once grew. You remind yourself, they too suffer. Their anger is their pain. This does not excuse harm, but it prevents your own heart from becoming consumed. The harvest becomes understanding instead of bitterness. Now imagine positive seeds in daily life. A simple thank you to a colleague plants gratitude. A deep breath before responding to criticism plants patience. A smile to a stranger plants kindness. Each act is small, yet no seed is wasted. They accumulate, forming habits of the heart. Over time, these habits shape your identity. You become known not by your possessions or achievements, but by the fragrance of your garden, the peace you carry, the kindness you offer, the resilience you embody. Science supports this truth. Psychologists speak of confirmation bias. The mind seeks evidence for what it already believes. If you plant seeds of inadequacy, you will notice every failure, every rejection, every flaw. But if you plant seeds of worth, you will notice progress, support, and strength. The same world, the same events, but filtered through different seeds. This is not illusion, it is perception shaping reality. Let us travel beyond Kansas for a moment to the vineyards of Napa Valley. There, grapevines cling to rocky soil, enduring droughts and storms. Yet from this hardship comes the finest wine. Farmers know that stress in the right measure strengthens the vine. In the same way, your struggles can strengthen you if you plant the right seeds. Hardship alone does not guarantee growth. It is the seed you plant in response that determines the harvest. Plant despair and hardship breaks you. Plant resilience and hardship refines you. Think of a man facing illness. One thought says, "This is the end. Life is unfair." That seed grows into bitterness, poisoning even the days he has left. Another thought says, "This is painful, but I will use it to deepen my gratitude, to cherish each moment, to love more fully." That seed grows into peace, allowing even suffering to bloom into meaning. The illness is the same, but the harvest is different. Or imagine a student who fails an exam. One thought says, "I am stupid, I will never succeed." That seed grows into shame, leading him to quit. Another thought says, "I must try differently. This is a chance to learn." That seed grows into perseverance, leading him to study harder and eventually triumph. Failure is not the enemy. The seed planted in response determines whether it becomes the end of growth or the beginning of it. The Buddha's wisdom is echoed in every field, every vineyard, every garden. Life is faithful to what you plant. It does not betray you. It simply mirrors your choices. This realization is both humbling and empowering. It means you cannot blame others for the state of your garden, but it also means you always have the power to change it. So pause and ask yourself now, what seeds will you plant today? Will you water fear or courage? Will you scatter anger or compassion? Will you dwell in regret or ingratitude? The field is waiting, the harvest will come, and the law will remain unchanged. You reap what you sow always. Think about the seeds scattered in ordinary moments, moments so small you might overlook their power. You are standing in line at the grocery store. The cashier is slow, distracted, perhaps even curt. One option is to plant irritation. You mutter under your breath, you replay the moment later, you allow the annoyance to spill into your evening. That small seed of anger multiplies, turning an insignificant delay into hours of agitation. But another option exists. You can plant patience. You can take a breath, notice the strain in the cashier's eyes, and silently wish them well. That seed turns an inconvenience into compassion, and the harvest is your own peace. The event is the same, but the garden differs depending on what you plant. This principle applies everywhere. Driving on the highway, you can plant rage at every driver who cuts you off, or you can plant tolerance, reminding yourself that each person is carrying their own unseen burden. At work, you can plant envy at a colleague's promotion, or you can plant inspiration, seeing their success as proof that progress is possible. At home, you can plant criticism in every conversation, or you can plant appreciation, noticing even small acts of care. Each choice is a seed. Each seed becomes a habit. Each habit becomes a harvest. What makes this law so profound is that it is not dependent on wealth, status, or circumstance. Anyone, anywhere can plant wisely. A billionaire and a farmer in Kansas share the same inner soil. The question is not how much they own, but what they plant in their minds each day. One may live surrounded by abundance yet feel poor, because they water seeds of lack. Another may live with little yet feel rich, because they water seeds of gratitude. Life's true harvest is not material. It is the state of the mind that experiences it. This is why the Buddha placed such emphasis on right thought. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right thought is not an abstract concept, but the deliberate planting of seeds that lead to liberation. Right thought includes renunciation instead of craving, goodwill instead of ill will, compassion instead of cruelty. Each is a seed. Each, when planted and nurtured, leads to freedom. Let us bring this wisdom into the fabric of modern life. Imagine beginning your day not with emails or headlines, but with planting. Before you rise, you choose 3 seeds: gratitude, courage, and kindness. You think to yourself, I am grateful for this breath. I will meet today with courage. I will practice kindness toward myself and others. These are not empty affirmations. They are seeds scattered into the soil of your consciousness. As the day unfolds, those seeds guide your responses. Gratitude softens frustration. Courage steadies your choices. Kindness shapes your interactions. By nightfall, the harvest is a day lived with intention rather than reactivity. Practical practices can help you sow these seeds deliberately. Journaling is one. Each morning, write down 3 thoughts you wish to plant. Each evening, reflect on what seeds you actually watered. Did you feed fear or did you nourish hope? Did you dwell in complaint or did you cultivate gratitude? The journal becomes a record of your planting, a mirror of your harvest. Meditation is another. Sit quietly, breathing deeply, and observe the seeds as they arise. Watch fear knock, watch anger stir, watch joy flicker. Do not judge, do not suppress. Simply notice and choose which ones to water with attention. Over time, you will see clearly the difference between seeds that drain you and seeds that sustain you. Acts of service are yet another. When you help someone in need, even in small ways, you plant seeds of compassion. These acts not only benefit others, they transform your own field. Compassion strengthens with use, like a muscle exercised daily. The more you give, the more abundant your harvest becomes. It is also wise to remember that seeds are contagious. Just as a field of wildflowers spreads its fragrance to neighboring lands, so too do your thoughts influence those around you. A parent who plants anger often passes that harvest to their children. A leader who plants fear infects their community. But a teacher who plants encouragement changes the lives of students. A friend who plants hope uplifts an entire circle. Your garden does not end at your skin. Its fragrance spreads for better or worse. This truth should humble you but also empower you. Plant wisely and you will not only transform your life but the lives of those who walk beside you. Consider the example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who faced hatred, violence, and systemic injustice. He could have planted seeds of vengeance. Many urged him to do so, yet he chose instead to plant love, to water courage, to nurture resilience. The harvest was not only his own peace but a movement that reshaped a nation. His garden influenced millions long after his life ended. This shows that the seeds you plant can outlive you, rippling into history. Now, pause and reflect again. What harvest do you wish to leave behind? When your days are complete, what fragrance will linger from your garden? Will people remember the bitterness of your weeds or the sweetness of your blossoms? Will your legacy be fear or courage, cruelty or compassion? The harvest is not only for you, it is your gift or your burden to the world. The Buddha's teaching is not harsh but liberating. It does not chain you to your past. It does not say that if you planted weeds yesterday, you are doomed forever. It says instead, today you can plant anew. Today you can begin again. Every sunrise over the Kansas fields is proof of this truth. No matter the storms of yesterday, the soil is ready today for new seeds. And so is your mind. Imagine yourself now as the farmer standing at the edge of your own consciousness. In one hand, the seeds of fear, anger, envy, regret. In the other, the seeds of courage, compassion, gratitude, wisdom. Which will you scatter? The choice is yours. No one can plant for you, and the harvest will be yours, whether bitter or sweet. The law is simple, but its depth is infinite. You reap what you sow. This is not punishment, but promise. It is the guarantee that your effort will not be wasted. Every seed planted with intention will bear fruit. Every thought chosen with care will shape your future. Every act of love will ripple beyond your sight. So, as you leave this reflection, carry with you this image, a wide, endless field beneath the open sky. Your thoughts are seeds. Your heart is the farmer. Your life is the harvest. Plant wisely, water faithfully, and trust the seasons. The garden of your mind will bloom in time, and the fragrance will be peace. Part 3. Awareness, the watchman at the gate. Every fortress has a gate, and every gate has a watchman. Without the watchman, the fortress is vulnerable to anything that passes by, friends and enemies alike. The gate is left wide open, and invaders walk in as if they belong. But with a watchman, there is protection. Every arrival is noticed. Every visitor is questioned. Only those who belong are allowed to stay. This image is not of a distant kingdom, it is of your own mind. Your awareness is the watchman at the gate. Thoughts arrive ceaselessly. They come like travelers on a busy road. Memories from the past, fears about the future, judgments about the present. Some carry gifts, hope, inspiration, gratitude. Others carry weapons, anger, envy, despair. Without awareness, the gate is unguarded. Every thought enters, sets up camp, and begins to shape your inner world. You mistake them for truth. You let them dictate your emotions, your words, your actions. Soon, you are no longer living consciously. You are being lived by your thoughts. But when awareness takes its place at the gate, everything changes. The thoughts still come, but now they are seen. The watchman does not attack them, nor does he run from them. He simply observes. Here is anger knocking at the gate. Here is fear asking to enter. Here is gratitude offering warmth. Awareness gives you the space to choose. Without it, you react blindly. With it, you respond wisely. This is perhaps the most important shift you can make, from identification with your thoughts to observation of them. Most people believe they are their thoughts. I am angry, I am worthless, I am afraid. But in truth, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. Anger arises and passes, but you remain. Fear rises and fades, but you remain. Thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky. You are the sky itself, vast and untouched. Awareness is what allows you to realize this. Imagine sitting quietly and a thought appears. I will fail. Without awareness, this thought feels absolute. You feel the weight of failure in your chest. You act timidly, you shrink. But with awareness, you see it as just that, a thought. You note it almost as if labeling it. This is fear, this is doubt. In naming it, you create distance. The thought no longer defines you. It is simply a visitor passing by the gate. You can let it pass without granting it power. The Buddha compared the untrained mind to a monkey, leaping from branch to branch, restless and distracted. Awareness is the calm presence that notices the monkey's movements without being dragged along. When you practice awareness, you are no longer yanked endlessly from one thought to another. You become the steady observer, the one who watches without losing balance. But awareness is not passive. It is not mere noticing. It is an active guarding, a conscious choosing. Like the watchman at the gate, awareness asks, does this thought deserve entry? Will it bring peace or disturbance? Will it nourish or poison? And in that pause, you reclaim your freedom. Think of your daily life. You open your inbox and there it is, an email that feels like criticism. Without awareness, your mind reacts instantly. Anger, defensiveness, perhaps even shame. You type a sharp reply or you stew in resentment, but with awareness, you notice the spark. Here is anger rising. You breathe. You let the initial heat pass. Then from a calmer place, you choose your response. Perhaps you reply with clarity instead of attack. Perhaps you wait until your mind is steady before responding at all. The outer event is the same, but awareness at the gate changes everything. Or consider a moment of loneliness. The thought comes, no one cares about me. Without awareness, the thought grips you, pulling you into despair. You believe it, feed it, let it shape your mood. But with awareness, you pause, you note, here is loneliness. Here is the thought that I am unloved. You see it as a visitor, not as truth. And in that pause, you might recall a friend who once reached out or feel gratitude for the simple gift of being alive. The loneliness does not vanish instantly, but it no longer chains you. Awareness can be practiced anywhere. Walking down the street, you notice your mind commenting on every passerby. She looks tired. That car is too slow. The weather is terrible. Without awareness, you drown in these judgments. With awareness, you simply see, judgment is arising. You smile gently, let it pass, and continue walking in peace. The world has not changed, but your relationship to it has. One powerful way to train awareness is through mindful journaling. Each day, take a few minutes to write down the thoughts that visited you. Do not censor them. Do not judge them. Simply record. This morning I thought about failing at work. This afternoon I worried about money. This evening I remembered an old hurt. In writing them, you step into the role of observer. You begin to see patterns. You notice which seeds you plant most often. You realize that many of the thoughts repeat, wearing the same grooves into your mind. And with this realization, you gain the power to choose differently. Another practice is the simple pause. Before reacting, before speaking sharply, before making a decision, pause. Take one conscious breath. In that single breath, awareness steps forward. The thought is seen, the emotion acknowledged, the choice opened. Often that single breath is enough to prevent a weed from taking root. It is important to understand that awareness is not suppression. To suppress a thought is to push it into the shadows where it often grows stronger. Awareness is light. It says, I see you, you are here. And in the seeing, the thought loses its grip. Like a thief caught in the act, it cannot continue its mischief under the gaze of awareness. This is why meditation is so transformative. In meditation, you sit and watch the endless parade of thoughts. At first, it feels overwhelming. The monkey mind leaps more than ever, but with practice, you learn not to chase each thought. You learn to remain as the watcher, and slowly the thoughts lose their power. They come and go, but you remain steady. This steadiness begins to carry into your daily life. The watchman at the gate becomes ever more alert, ever more compassionate, ever more wise. Awareness is not only the guardian of your thoughts, but also the healer of your relationships. Consider how many conflicts are fueled not by what is said, but by unconscious reactions. Someone makes a careless remark, and before you know it, your mind has spun a story. They don't respect me. They always belittle me. They will never change. Without awareness, these stories feel true. You lash out or withdraw, and the distance between you grows. But with awareness, you pause. You notice the spark. This is anger rising. This is hurt forming a story. You breathe. And in that pause, you remember, words are only words. The other person, too, is carrying pain. You respond not with the reflex of ego, but with the clarity of awareness. The argument dissolves before it can ignite. In families, awareness becomes the gentle bridge across generations. A parent without awareness may snap at a child, projecting their own stress into harsh words. But with awareness, the parent sees their irritation before it spills out. They breathe, and instead of shouting, they kneel, they listen, they guide with patience. The child, instead of carrying the wound of anger, receives the seed of compassion. In this way, awareness at the gate protects not only your own mind, but the minds of those you love. At work, awareness transforms pressure into presence. Deadlines loom, colleagues argue, expectations pile up. The unguarded mind becomes consumed. I will never finish. They don't appreciate me. This is too much. Stress multiplies, spilling into every interaction, but awareness interrupts. You notice, here is overwhelm, here is doubt. By seeing it, you step back from it. You break the cycle. You focus on the task before you, one step at a time. You respond to colleagues with patience instead of irritation. You meet challenges with clarity instead of panic. The outer workload is the same, but the inner experience is different. Awareness at the gate makes the difference between burnout and resilience. Awareness also transforms how you relate to yourself. Many people are harsh judges of their own being. The mind whispers, I am weak, I am ugly, I am a failure. Without awareness, you believe these voices, carrying them like heavy stones in your pocket. But with awareness, you see, here is self-criticism, here is shame. You recognize them as seeds that have been planted by culture, by past wounds, by repetition. You realize they are not truth but habits, and in that realization you open the possibility of self-compassion. You choose instead to plant the thought, I am doing my best, I am worthy of love, I am enough. Slowly your relationship with yourself shifts. The harvest becomes gentleness instead of cruelty, kindness instead of judgment. The practice of awareness is simple but not easy. It demands vigilance. The mind is slippery. Thoughts arise and claim ownership. This is who I am. Awareness must stand at the gate continually, reminding you, this is only a thought. I am more than this. It is like standing on the shore, watching waves crash. Without awareness, you are pulled into the ocean, tossed helplessly by the currents. With awareness, you stand on the sand, watching the waves rise and fall. They cannot drown you because you know you are not the waves. You are the witness. Consider the story of a monk walking through a crowded market in ancient India. Merchants shout, beggars cry, animals bray. The noise is overwhelming. Yet the monk walks calmly, eyes soft, steps steady. Someone asks him, how can you remain peaceful in such chaos? The monk replies, I do not stop the noise, but I do not invite it into my mind. Awareness is my gatekeeper. The world does not quiet itself for you, but with awareness you can remain quiet within the world. Modern life offers endless tests of this truth. The notification buzzes, the news scrolls, the advertisement flashes. Each is a thought knocking at your gate. Without awareness, you open to all of them. You let the fear of headlines, the envy of images, the craving of ads pour into your consciousness. But with awareness, you pause, you ask, does this serve me? Does this deserve entry? And often the answer is no. You turn off the notification. You close the tab, you return to your breath. In that moment, you have not only protected your peace, you have reclaimed your freedom. There is great dignity in this freedom. It means you are no longer a slave to every passing thought, every cultural message, every habit of mind. You become sovereign over your inner world. And from this sovereignty, your outer world begins to shift. People notice the steadiness in your presence. They feel the calm in your words, the clarity in your choices. You influence not by control, but by example. Your awareness inspires theirs. Of course, there will be times when the watchman sleeps. Awareness fades, and old patterns return. You snap in anger, drown in worry, wallow in self-pity. Do not despair. The practice is not about perfection, but about return. Each time you notice you have lost awareness, that noticing itself is awareness returning. The watchman wakes, the gate is guarded once more. In this way, even your lapses become part of the path. To strengthen this watchman, daily practice is essential. Begin with short moments. When you eat, notice the taste, the texture, the act of chewing. When you walk, notice your steps, the ground beneath you, the rhythm of your breath. When you speak, notice the words forming, the tone you use, the effect they create. Each act of noticing strengthens awareness. Over time, the watchman becomes alert even without effort. Awareness becomes your natural state. And here lies a deeper truth. Awareness itself is never absent, it is only overlooked. Like the sun hidden by clouds, it is always shining. Even in your darkest moments, the light of awareness is present. When you remember it, the clouds part. When you forget it, the sky is still there, waiting. This realization is liberating. It means you are never truly lost. The watchman at the gate is never gone. It is only asleep, waiting to be called. So call it. Each morning, before the world rushes in, wake your awareness. Each evening before you sleep, thank it for guarding you. Each moment in between, return to it whenever you can. It is your greatest ally, your truest friend, the key to your freedom. Awareness is more than a tool for peace. It is the very doorway to awakening. For the Buddha, awareness was not merely about calming the mind, but about seeing reality as it truly is. Thoughts are not truth. Emotions are not identity. Awareness reveals this. It strips away illusion. It shows you that beneath every passing thought there is a stillness untouched, a clarity unbroken. This is not theory, it is experience. And the more you practice awareness, the more often you taste this stillness. Modern science has begun to affirm what sages have known for millennia. Neuroscientists studying mindfulness meditation find that awareness changes the brain itself. Regions linked to fear and stress shrink. Regions linked to compassion and clarity grow stronger. Patterns of reactivity weaken. Patterns of calm resilience deepen. Each act of awareness is not only a spiritual choice but a physical one. It rewires the brain. It changes the grooves of thought. It transforms the very structure of who you are becoming. In this way, the watchman at the gate is not only guarding the present but reshaping the future. And yet awareness is not about controlling every thought. That would be impossible. Thoughts are countless like raindrops in a storm. Your task is not to stop the rain but to remain dry within it. Awareness is your shelter. It allows you to see the storm for what it is, passing weather, not permanent identity. One moment you are angry, the next you are joyful, the next you are sad. Awareness watches them all, steady as the mountain, unshaken by the winds of change. This steadiness is what gives birth to true freedom. Without awareness, you are at the mercy of every thought. You are happy when thoughts are pleasant, miserable when they are harsh. Your peace rises and falls with the tides of the mind. With awareness, you remain free. Thoughts come, thoughts go, but you are not bound by them. You can enjoy the pleasant without clinging. You can endure the unpleasant without despair. You become anchored not in thoughts but in awareness itself. Picture a lighthouse on a stormy coast. Waves crash, winds howl, darkness surrounds. But the lighthouse remains, shining steadily, guiding ships to safety. Awareness is that lighthouse within you. No matter how wild the storm of thoughts, it shines. When you remember it, you too stand steady, guiding yourself through the storm. Awareness also opens the heart. When you are aware of your own pain, you see more clearly the pain of others. Instead of reacting with judgment, you respond with compassion. When you notice your own fear, you recognize it in others and treat them gently. Awareness dissolves the walls of separation. It reminds you that everyone is fighting their own battle at the gate of the mind. In this way, awareness is not selfish. It is the seed of connection. In relationships, awareness prevents cycles of harm. A partner speaks sharply and the unguarded mind reacts with equal sharpness. The argument escalates, but awareness notices. Here is hurt rising. Here is the urge to defend. It pauses, softens, and responds differently. The cycle is broken. Peace enters where conflict could have grown. Multiply this across a family, a community, a society, and you begin to see the world-changing power of awareness. Wars, after all, begin with unguarded thoughts. Peace, too, begins with guarded ones. Awareness is also the beginning of self-love. Many speak of loving others, but they treat themselves with cruelty. They believe every harsh thought about their body, their worth, their failures. Awareness interrupts this cruelty. It notices, here is self-criticism, here is shame. And in that noticing, space opens for gentleness. You remind yourself, this is only a thought, not truth. And in that reminder, kindness arises. Over time, self-compassion blooms. You begin to treat yourself as you would treat a beloved friend. And when you love yourself, your love for others deepens too. To cultivate awareness, practices must be consistent yet gentle. Sitting meditation is powerful, but it is not the only way. Walking meditation turns each step into awareness. Eating slowly, noticing each bite, turns a meal into practice. Even washing dishes can be awareness. Feel the water, notice the movement, observe the mind's tendency to rush. In each act, awareness steps forward. The watchman grows stronger. The gate remains guarded. You may wonder, how can awareness endure in the chaos of modern life? The answer is, by returning again and again. No one is perfectly aware at all times. Even the most practiced lose themselves. But each return strengthens you. Each time you notice you were lost in thought, awareness has already returned. Celebrate that moment. It means the watchman is awake. Let me share an image. Imagine you are walking through Central Park in New York City. The park is beautiful, but your mind is elsewhere, lost in worries about work. Suddenly, you notice the sound of birds, the laughter of children, the warmth of sunlight on your face. That moment of noticing is awareness. The park was always there, but you were absent. Now you are present. This is the gift awareness offers. The chance to return to life as it is, not as your thoughts imagine it. Awareness is also profoundly healing. Trauma, grief, anxiety all leave deep imprints in the mind. Without awareness, these imprints dominate, replaying endlessly. With awareness, you begin to see them as patterns, not identity. You say, here is pain, here is fear, here is memory. You breathe with it, sit with it, hold it gently. Over time, the grip loosens. The wound is not erased, but it is integrated. You carry it with wisdom, not with chains. Many who practice awareness describe it as the first time they could breathe freely after years of suffocation. The harvest of awareness is vast. It is calm in the storm. It is clarity in confusion. It is compassion in conflict. It is freedom in the face of fear. But perhaps its greatest gift is presence. When you live with awareness, you are here fully in each moment. Life is no longer a blur of past regrets and future anxieties. It is this breath, this step, this heartbeat. And in presence, you discover a quiet joy that requires nothing else. As part 3 comes to a close, remember the image of the watchman at the gate. Your mind is a fortress, precious and powerful. Thoughts will always come, some with gifts, some with weapons, but you are not powerless. You have awareness. You have the watchman. Place him at the gate. Let him see clearly. Let him choose wisely. And in doing so, you will transform the fortress of your mind into a sanctuary of peace. Part 4, transforming shadows into light. Every human heart carries shadows. Anger that burns, envy that poisons, fear that paralyzes, regret that haunts. These shadows are not signs of failure. They are part of the human experience. To deny them is to deny our humanity, but to remain enslaved by them is to live in darkness. The true art of the spiritual path is not to banish shadows, but to transform them. The Buddha taught that hatred never ends by hatred, but only by love. Fear dissolves not through avoidance, but through courage. Envy fades not through denial, but through joy for others. This is the alchemy of the mind, turning shadows into light. Consider anger. It often begins as a spark, a rude comment, an unfair action, a betrayal. Left unchecked, that spark ignites into fire, consuming peace and clarity. Anger blinds, turning loved ones into enemies, turning moments of life into battlefields. Yet beneath anger lies energy, an intensity that, if redirected, can become a force for protection, justice, or compassion. Imagine the anger of seeing someone mistreated. Without awareness, that anger lashes out destructively. With awareness, it transforms into compassion-driven action, into a voice for justice, into a hand reaching to protect. The shadow of anger becomes the light of care. Envy is another shadow. It whispers when you see someone succeed, "That should be mine. I am lacking." It corrodes the heart, turning joy into bitterness. But envy too holds hidden light. Beneath it lies admiration, the recognition of qualities you value. Awareness allows you to see this. Instead of envying another's success, you can celebrate it. You can let it inspire you, showing you what is possible. Envy transformed becomes sympathetic joy, one of the highest states the Buddha praised. Instead of shrinking in bitterness, you expand in delight, and your heart becomes as wide as the sky. Fear may be the darkest shadow of all. It freezes you, builds walls around your life, convinces you that safety lies in retreat. Yet fear, too, carries hidden wisdom. It shows you where you long to grow, where you care deeply, where your soul calls you to expand. With awareness, fear becomes a signal, not a prison. Each time you act with courage in the presence of fear, you transform it. Fear is not erased, it is integrated. Its energy becomes the fuel for resilience, for bravery, for living fully. Transformation is not magic, it is practice. One method is simple: replacement. For every negative thought, plant a positive one. When anger says, "They are my enemy," replace it with, "They too suffer." When envy says, I lack, replace it with, I rejoice in their joy. When fear says, I cannot, replace it with, I will try. This practice may feel artificial at first, but repetition rewires the mind. Neuroscience confirms that the brain forms new pathways with each thought. Old habits weaken when not repeated. New habits strengthen when nurtured. This is not self-deception, it is training. Just as muscles grow with exercise, the mind grows with practice. Imagine this as a one-for-one replacement practice. Each time you notice a shadow thought, you replace it deliberately. One seed of anger is balanced with one seed of compassion. One thought of envy is balanced with one thought of gratitude. One fear is balanced with one act of courage. Day by day, thought by thought, the shadows lose their hold. The garden fills with light. Real life offers countless opportunities to practice this. A colleague receives the promotion you hoped for. Envy rises. Without awareness, you complain, withdraw, resent. With awareness, you notice the envy, name it, and replace it. I am glad for them. Their success inspires me. My path will come. At first, the words may feel hollow, but each repetition plants a seed. Over time, the heart shifts. You find genuine joy in another's joy. You no longer shrink in comparison, you expand in connection. Or consider conflict at home. Your partner forgets something important. Anger sparks. They don't care, they never listen. Without awareness, the anger burns into words that wound. With awareness, you pause, you breathe, you see the shadow of anger and you replace it. I am hurt, but they too are human. I can speak my need with kindness. The conversation shifts. Instead of widening the distance, you build a bridge. The shadow becomes light. In public life, too, this transformation matters. Think of leaders who respond to opposition with hatred. The result is division, violence, suffering. Now think of leaders who respond with compassion, even when attacked. They transform anger into reconciliation, fear into hope. History remembers them not for their shadows, but for their light. The same choice lies within you every day in every interaction. The practice of transforming shadows is not about perfection. Shadows will always arise. Anger, envy, fear, regret. They will visit again and again. The goal is not to banish them forever, but to meet them differently. Each time you transform a shadow, even in a small way, you strengthen your freedom. You become less reactive, more creative, more compassionate. You begin to trust that no shadow is final, that every darkness carries within it the seed of light. Transformation begins with honesty. To transform shadows, you must first be willing to see them. Many people hide from their darker thoughts. They pretend anger is not there, deny envy, bury fear, silence regret. But denial only makes shadows grow in secret. Awareness must turn toward them bravely, shining light into hidden corners. The Buddha did not tell his disciples to escape their shadows. He told them to face them with mindfulness. When you can look directly at anger, envy, or fear without running, you have already begun the process of transformation. Imagine holding a lantern in a dark cave. The shadows dance on the walls, terrifying in shape. But when you bring the lantern closer, you see that the shadows are only cast by small stones, sticks, or cracks. They lose their power when illuminated. Your mind works the same way. Anger feels monstrous when unseen, but when awareness illuminates it, you realize it is a thought, a feeling, a wave that will pass. Fear feels endless until you look directly at it and see that it is built from imagination. Envy feels poisonous until you shine light on it and see that it is simply desire misplaced. Light reveals truth. A story from the Buddha's life illustrates this. As he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, Mara, the embodiment of fear and illusion, sent his armies to attack. The earth shook, the skies darkened, demons appeared. Many would have run, but the Buddha did not. He looked calmly at Mara and said, I see you. That simple awareness dissolved Mara's power. The shadows transformed into nothing. This is the essence of transformation, to see clearly without fear and to choose differently. Modern life gives us many Maras. A harsh boss, a failed relationship, a disappointing setback all appear as demons in the mind. Without awareness, we believe they're illusions. I am worthless. I will never succeed. I am unloved. But with awareness, we can say, I see you, Mara. We recognize the thought as a shadow, not as truth. And with that recognition, we can choose to transform it. Transformation also requires compassion. Shadows are not enemies to be destroyed. They are parts of you calling for healing. Anger often masks pain. Fear often hides longing. Envy often reveals admiration. Regret often carries wisdom. When you meet these shadows with compassion, you uncover their hidden gifts. Anger shows you what you care deeply about. Fear shows you where courage is needed. Envy shows you what qualities you value. Regret shows you what lessons you have learned. With compassion, shadows are not rejected but integrated. They become teachers rather than tyrants. Think of a time when you felt deep regret. Perhaps you hurt someone or missed an opportunity. The shadow of regret whispers, you are a failure, you are broken. But if you meet it with compassion, you ask, what lesson does this carry? You realize regret is showing you your capacity to love, to care, to want to do better. You transform it into resolve. I will not repeat this. I will grow. The shadow becomes a light guiding your future. The same is true of fear. Imagine standing at the edge of a new opportunity, starting a business, speaking your truth, opening your heart. Fear arises. You will fail. You will be rejected. Without awareness, you retreat. But if you meet fear with compassion, you say, I see you. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose courage. And when you step forward anyway, fear transforms into strength. Each time you do this, the shadow of fear becomes the light of resilience. Transformation is not about suppressing negative thoughts with forced positivity. It is about alchemy, turning one energy into another. Anger's fire can destroy, but it can also fuel justice. Fear's caution can imprison, but it can also sharpen awareness. Envy's comparison can poison, but it can also inspire growth. Each shadow holds energy. Awareness and compassion redirect it. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Therapists speak of reframing, looking at a thought differently to change its impact. A failure reframed becomes feedback. A loss reframed becomes a lesson. A rejection reframed becomes redirection. This is not self-deception, it is transformation. The facts remain the same, but the meaning shifts. And meaning is the soil in which seeds grow. Choose the soil wisely and the harvest changes. Consider a practical exercise, the 1-for-1 replacement practice. Keep a small notebook with you. Each time you notice a shadow thought, write it down. Then immediately write a replacement. If the thought is, I am not enough, replace it with, I am growing, I am learning, I am enough as I am. If the thought is, they are better than me, replace it with, their success shows what is possible for all of us. If the thought is, I am afraid, replace it with, I am courageous enough to try. Do this daily. At first, it may feel mechanical, but over time, these replacements become natural. The shadows lose strength. The light grows stronger. Transformation is also supported by community. Alone, shadows feel overwhelming, but when shared with others, they lose power. Speaking your fears, your anger, your envy aloud to a trusted friend or teacher is itself a form of transformation. The shadows no longer lurk unseen. They are brought into the light of connection. And in that light, healing begins. The Buddha emphasized the importance of Sangha or community for this reason. We do not transform our shadows in isolation. We need each other's light. Perhaps you have felt this when confiding in someone you trust. You share your shame, expecting rejection, but instead you receive compassion. In that moment, the shadow softens. You realize you are not alone. The very act of being seen transforms the burden. This is the power of community. We hold lanterns for each other in the darkness so that shadows can become light. Transformation also requires practice in daily life. Begin small. The next time anger arises, pause, take 3 breaths. Ask, what seed can I plant instead? The next time envy arises, pause, celebrate one thing about yourself. The next time fear arises, pause, take one small courageous step anyway. Each practice may feel small, but together they weave a tapestry of transformation. The shadows may visit often, but you no longer fear them. You know what to do, and slowly something remarkable happens. You begin to trust your own power to transform. You no longer dread shadows because you see them as opportunities. Anger becomes a chance to practice compassion. Fear becomes a chance to practice courage. Envy becomes a chance to practice joy. Regret becomes a chance to practice wisdom. Life no longer feels like a battle against darkness, but like a journey of turning darkness into light. This is the essence of freedom. Not a life without shadows, but a life where shadows cannot rule you. Not a mind free of fear, but a mind where fear cannot bind you. Not a heart free of anger, but a heart where anger cannot destroy love. Transformation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. Transformation is like sunrise. The darkness does not fight the light. It simply fades as the light grows stronger. Your shadows are the same. They cannot survive in the steady radiance of awareness, compassion, and courage. Each time you turn toward the light, even in the smallest way, the shadows lose power. And though they may return, they never return unchanged. Each time you meet them wisely, they come back weaker, more transparent, less convincing. Think of the shadow of anger again. Imagine driving through Los Angeles traffic. A driver cuts you off. Instantly, your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, your mind explodes with curses. Without awareness, you carry this anger into the rest of your day. You honk, you fume, you replay the moment hours later, but with awareness, you catch it. This is anger. This is my shadow rising. You breathe. You remind yourself. Perhaps they are rushing to a hospital. Perhaps they are in pain. I too have made mistakes. The story shifts. The fire cools. What could have poisoned your whole day transforms into a moment of compassion. Now consider envy in the age of social media. You scroll through Instagram and see pictures of friends traveling in Paris, buying new homes, celebrating success. A knot forms in your stomach. Why not me? I am behind. Envy whispers its poison, but awareness interrupts. This is envy. This is my shadow speaking. Instead of feeding it, you choose to replace it. Their joy is proof of what is possible. I am grateful for their happiness. My path is unfolding in its own time. Suddenly, envy dissolves into inspiration. You close the app not bitter but motivated to nurture your own garden. Fear often appears at the threshold of growth. Imagine standing before a stage in New York City about to give a speech. Your heart races. Fear screams. You will fail. They will laugh. You will embarrass yourself. The unguarded mind retreats, but awareness steps forward. This is fear. This is the shadow. You breathe. You acknowledge it gently. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose courage. You step onto the stage anyway. Fear does not vanish, but it transforms into adrenaline, into energy, into presence. What once paralyzed you now empowers you. Regret, too, can become light. Imagine reflecting on a broken relationship. The mind says, I ruined everything. I am unworthy of love. The shadow of regret darkens your heart, but awareness sees it. This is regret. This is pain. Compassion enters. I did my best with what I knew then. I have learned. I will love more wisely next time. Regret softens into wisdom, into resolve, into hope. The shadow becomes a lantern lighting your future. The Buddha's teachings are filled with this alchemy. When he spoke of the 4 Brahma Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, he was offering tools of transformation. Loving kindness replaces hatred. Compassion replaces cruelty. Sympathetic joy replaces envy. Equanimity replaces fear and restlessness. Each is a light that transforms a shadow. These are not lofty ideals but practical seeds to be planted daily. Modern science supports this. Studies on gratitude show that it rewires the brain, reducing envy and increasing joy. Studies on compassion show that it strengthens resilience, calming anger and stress. Studies on mindfulness show that it reduces fear by quieting the brain's threat centers. What the Buddha taught centuries ago, science now affirms. Shadows can be transformed and practice is the path. So how do you live this transformation day to day? Begin with small acts. When anger rises, pause and place your hand on your heart. Whisper, may I be calm, may they be free from suffering. When envy rises, smile gently and say, may they be happy, may I rejoice in their joy. When fear rises, breathe deeply and take one step forward anyway. When regret rises, write down one lesson you have learned. These acts may seem small, but each is a spark of light in the darkness. Over time, the sparks join into a flame and the flame into a sunrise. Transformation is not a solitary journey. Seek out reminders. Surround yourself with people who practice light. Read words that inspire compassion. Listen to stories that encourage courage. Visit places that awaken gratitude. Each of these is like adding fuel to your flame. Shadows cannot survive in such company. And remember, transformation is a practice, not a performance. You will stumble. Anger will overwhelm you. Envy will poison you. Fear will paralyze you. Regret will haunt you. But each stumble is an invitation to practice again. Transformation is not about never falling. It is about rising each time with more wisdom. Imagine looking back years from now. You remember the moments of anger that once ruled you, the fears that once confined you, the envy that once consumed you. And you smile because you see how each became a teacher. Anger taught you compassion. Fear taught you courage. Envy taught you joy. Regret taught you wisdom. The shadows that once terrified you became the very forces that shaped your light. This is the true meaning of transforming shadows into light. It is not about erasing your humanity. It is about embracing it fully, even the parts that scare you, and turning them into something beautiful. The shadows are not proof of your failure. They are proof of your potential. Every shadow is an unopened gift, waiting for awareness and compassion to reveal its treasure. So the next time anger knocks at your door, greet it with compassion. The next time envy whispers, greet it with joy. The next time fear shouts, greet it with courage. The next time regret lingers, greet it with wisdom. This is your power. This is your path. This is your light. And remember always, the shadows are not the enemy. They are the soil from which your brightest light will grow. Part 5. The Mirror and the Sky Within. There is a mirror inside each of us, though many never stop to see it. This mirror is the mind. Whatever appears before it, it reflects. When anger stands in front of it, the mirror glows red. When fear lingers, the mirror trembles with shadows. When love arrives, the mirror radiates warmth. The mirror itself is neutral. It does not choose what to reflect. Yet over time, we forget this neutrality. We believe the reflection is who we are. If anger appears, we say, I am angry. If fear appears, we say, I am afraid. If sorrow appears, we say, I am broken. But in truth, the mirror is none of these. The mirror simply reflects. This truth is both liberating and humbling. It means that the turmoil you feel is not your essence, it is your reflection. And reflections can change. A mirror covered in dust does not lose its ability to shine. Wipe it clean and clarity returns. So too with your mind. No matter how clouded with anger, fear, or confusion, your true nature is clarity. The dust can be wiped away. The mirror can shine again. The Buddha often spoke of the mind as luminous. Its essence is like light, pure and radiant. Thoughts, emotions, memories, they are passing stains, not permanent marks. The problem is not that stains appear, but that we mistake them for the mirror itself. We think, I am the stain, forgetting that beneath every stain is clarity untouched. To remember this is to begin the path of freedom. Another image, equally powerful, is the sky. Look upward on any day and you see clouds moving across the heavens. Some are light and fluffy, drifting easily. Others are dark and heavy, bringing storms. But beneath them all, the sky remains vast and unbroken. The clouds may cover the sky, but they do not change its nature. And when the storm passes, the sky is as open as ever. Your mind is the sky. Thoughts and emotions are clouds. They come, they go, they shift and dissolve. Sometimes they bring storms that feel endless, but they never alter the sky itself. You are not the clouds, you are the sky that holds them. When you remember this, you no longer fear the storm. You watch it with patience, knowing it will pass. You rest in the vastness of your inner sky. Think of a day when your mind felt heavy with sorrow. The clouds of grief covered everything. In that moment, you believed the sky was gone. But slowly, perhaps after days or weeks, the clouds parted. Joy returned, even if briefly. The The sky had never disappeared, it was simply obscured. So too with every emotion. None are permanent, all are passing weather. The sky abides. This perspective changes everything. Without it, you are tossed by every cloud. Happiness comes, you cling desperately. Sadness comes, you despair. Fear comes, you retreat. Anger comes, you explode. With the perspective of the mirror and the sky, you remain steady. You see thoughts as reflections, emotions as clouds. You observe without being consumed. You realize you are larger than any storm, deeper than any reflection. Modern life makes this practice urgent. Screens flash endless images, each planting reflections in your mirror. News fills the sky with storm clouds. Social media scatters comparison like endless haze. Without awareness, your mirror becomes dusty, your sky feels suffocated. You begin to think this fog is who you are. But it is not. Beneath the fog, clarity remains. Beneath the storm, the sky is vast. The task is not to stop the reflections or the clouds, it is to remember what lies beneath. One practice to cultivate this remembrance is sky meditation. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine your mind as the open sky. Thoughts will appear, memories, worries, plans. See them as clouds drifting across your sky. Do not cling to the pleasant ones. Do not fight the dark ones. Simply watch. Remind yourself, this is a cloud. I am the sky. With practice, a deep calm arises. The thoughts no longer control you. You remain open, vast, unshaken. Another practice is to treat your daily experiences as reflections in a mirror. When someone criticizes you, instead of reacting, pause and say, "This is a reflection. What does it show me?" Perhaps it reveals your sensitivity. Perhaps it reveals their pain. The mirror reflects both. The task is not to break the mirror, but to learn from what it shows. In this way, even challenges become teachers. The mirror and the sky also remind us of impermanence. Just as no reflection lasts forever, no cloud stays forever. This too shall pass. The joy you cling to will fade, but so will the sorrow you fear. To know this is to rest in balance. To forget this is to suffer endlessly. When you remember impermanence, you appreciate joy without clinging and endure pain without despair. You live with equanimity, steady in the ever-changing weather of life. Imagine standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon. The sky above stretches wide, layered in endless shades of blue and gold. Clouds drift lazily, sometimes gathering into storms, sometimes dissolving into pure light. No matter what they do, the vastness of the sky remains untouched. In the same way, your mind is larger than any thought, any emotion, any memory. When you connect with this inner sky, life no longer feels like a prison of storms. It becomes an open horizon of possibilities. This perspective brings freedom in the most ordinary moments. Think of being stuck in traffic. Without awareness, frustration builds. The mirror reflects only irritation, the sky feels dark with clouds of impatience. But with awareness, you remind yourself, this is only a passing cloud, this is only a reflection of my state of mind. You breathe, you look around. You notice the play of sunlight on buildings, the rhythm of people walking. You remember that the sky above remains clear no matter how heavy your mood. In that moment, traffic is no longer a torment. It is a teacher of patience, a chance to rest in the vastness within. In relationships, the mirror and sky metaphors are equally powerful. Suppose your partner forgets something important. The mirror immediately reflects anger. They don't care about me. The sky fills with storm clouds of resentment. Without awareness, you react, your words sharp, your heart closed. But with awareness, you pause. You see the reflection for what it is: anger, hurt, expectation. You see the cloud as temporary. You remember, this is not the sky itself. This is not the whole truth. Instead of exploding, you speak from clarity. I felt hurt when you forgot. The storm passes quickly, the sky clears, the mirror shines. The relationship deepens instead of shattering. Our culture often teaches us to identify with our reflections. Success appears and we think, I am valuable. Failure appears and we think, I am worthless. Praise appears and we think, I am lovable. Criticism appears and we think, I am unlovable. But reflections are temporary. If you base your worth on them, you will forever be unstable. rising and falling with every shift. True stability comes from remembering the mirror itself. Your worth does not depend on what appears before it. The mirror is valuable because it reflects it all. You are valuable because you are aware, because you are alive, because your essence is clarity. The same is true of the sky. If you believe you are the clouds, you will suffer endlessly. You will cling to the sunny ones, despair at the stormy ones, chase the shapes that please you, fear the ones that frighten you. But if you remember you are the sky, you rest in spaciousness. Clouds come and go, you remain. Joy comes, you enjoy it fully, but you do not cling. Pain comes, you endure it, but you do not despair. This is equanimity, the calm center of the spiritual path. One powerful practice is to repeat silently during difficult moments. This too shall pass. These words are like sunlight breaking through clouds. They remind you that no reflection, no storm, no thought is permanent. Every storm in your life has passed. Every joy has passed too. This is not cause for sadness but for freedom. When you accept impermanence, you stop clinging and you stop resisting. You live with grace in the flow of change. Think of grief. When someone you love dies, the clouds of sorrow cover the entire sky. It feels endless, unbearable. But slowly, imperceptibly, the clouds shift. Laughter returns, first in guilty whispers, then in honest bursts. Memories soften from stabbing pain to gentle warmth. The grief never disappears completely, but the sky re-emerges. The mirror clears again. Awareness helps you see this process without being crushed. You realize grief, too, is a cloud. Heavy, yes. Painful, yes, but still a cloud. The sky remains. This understanding also deepens your appreciation for beauty. When joy comes, you savor it fully, knowing it will pass. You do not cling desperately, trying to freeze it. Instead, you drink it deeply, grateful for its presence. Like watching a sunset, you do not despair that it will fade. You marvel at its colors while it lasts, knowing the memory will linger. Awareness transforms even fleeting joys into treasures because you experience them fully in the moment. Science offers a fascinating parallel here. Psychologists describe cognitive diffusion, the practice of stepping back from thoughts instead of being entangled in them. For example, instead of saying, "I am a failure," you say, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." This creates space, just like seeing a cloud instead of being the cloud. It is a scientific echo of the Buddha's teaching. Thoughts are not who you are. They are reflections, they are weather. The essence of you is larger. Practical exercises bring this home. Try sitting for a few minutes each day and imagining your mind as a mirror. Notice what it reflects in that moment. Is it fear? Is it joy? Is it fatigue? Do not judge. Simply observe the reflection. Then imagine gently wiping the mirror clean with your breath. With each exhale, let the reflection soften. Notice the clarity beneath. This simple act reconnects you to your essence. Or try walking outside and looking at the sky. With each step, repeat silently, "Thoughts are clouds, I am the sky." Let worries drift like passing shapes. Let joy float like white clouds in sunlight. Let fear darken and dissolve. Keep walking, steady as the sky. By the end, you will feel lighter, freer, more open. This is not imagination, it is remembrance. The sky within you is real. The mirror and the sky also teach humility. When your mirror reflects anger, it is easy to project it outward, blaming others. When your sky fills with clouds of judgment, it is easy to think the world itself is ugly. But awareness reminds you, the reflection is yours, the cloud is in your sky. The world is not always as you perceive it. By cleaning your mirror, by resting in your sky, you change your perception. And when perception changes, the world itself changes. This is why inner clarity is the foundation of outer peace. A person with a clean mirror sees beauty where others see flaws. A person resting in the sky sees connection where others see division. The same world, the same people, but filtered through different minds. This is why the Buddha said, "With our thoughts we make the world." The mirror and the sky are not metaphors only, they are truths that shape your daily life. The true strength of the mirror and the sky is not only in calming storms, but in awakening you to who you really are. For too long, many of us mistake the dust for the mirror, the clouds for the sky. We think, "I am my anger, I am my failures, I am my wounds." But you are not these things. They are temporary, fragile, impermanent. You are the one who notices them, the one who remains when they pass. When you see this, you begin to live from a place of freedom rather than fear. Freedom is not the absence of difficulty. The sky holds storms as well as sunshine. The mirror reflects sorrow as well as joy. Freedom is the ability to remember that you are not diminished by any of it. You can endure storms without losing your vastness. You can reflect sorrow without losing your clarity. This recognition changes how you meet every moment. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What does this reflection reveal? What cloud is passing through my sky?" The shift from resistance to curiosity is itself transformative. Think of a time you faced rejection. Perhaps you were not chosen for a job or a relationship ended. The mirror immediately reflected shame. "I am unworthy." The sky filled with dark clouds. "I will never succeed. I will always be alone." Without awareness, you believed these reflections. You mistook the clouds for the sky. But in truth, the rejection was a passing event, a cloud drifting by. The shame was a reflection, not your essence. When you remember this, you can face rejection without losing yourself. You can let the cloud pass, knowing the sky remains open to new possibilities. This perspective also changes how you see others. When someone lashes out in anger, it is easy to believe their anger is who they are. But if you remember the mirror and the sky, you see differently. Their mind is reflecting a storm. Their sky is filled with clouds. But beneath it, they too are clear and vast. They too have a mirror that can shine, a sky that can open. This understanding brings compassion. You no longer meet anger with anger, but with the patience of someone who knows the storm will pass. Consider forgiveness. Many resist it, believing it excuses harm. But forgiveness is not about denying the reflection of pain. It is about remembering the clarity beneath. When you see another's action as a cloud in their sky, as dust on their mirror, you realize it is not their essence. They acted from shadow, from ignorance, from fear. And just as you have had your storms, so too have they. This does not mean you condone harm, but it frees you from carrying their cloud in your own sky. Forgiveness clears your mirror so that your reflection is no longer chained to resentment. The mirror and the sky also guide us in success. Joyful clouds drift in, reflections of praise, achievements, triumphs. These are beautiful, but they too are impermanent. If you cling to them, you suffer when they fade. But if you enjoy them as passing clouds, you can savor them fully without fear. A mirror that reflects beauty does not hold on to it. The beauty comes, shines, and goes. The mirror remains ready for the next reflection. To live this way is to enjoy success without being enslaved by it. This balance is what the Buddha called equanimity, a mind steady in pleasure and pain, success and failure, praise and blame. The mirror and the sky are teachers of equanimity. They remind you that no reflection defines you, no cloud limits you. You are more than any passing image, more than any fleeting storm. There is also joy in this vastness. Imagine lying on your back in a wide meadow, looking up at the open sky. Clouds drift, birds pass, light changes. You do not cling to any of it, you simply enjoy the expanse. This is what awareness feels like when you rest in your inner sky. Thoughts drift by, emotions shift, but you remain open, vast, free. Life itself becomes lighter because you are no longer clinging or resisting. You are simply being. Practical exercises bring this experience closer. Try this tonight. Before you sleep, close your eyes and imagine your mind as a mirror. Recall the day, moments of joy, moments of pain, moments of boredom. See them as reflections, each appearing and fading. Then imagine gently wiping the mirror clean with your breath, leaving it clear and luminous. Rest in that clarity as you drift into sleep. You will notice a deeper calm, a sense of lightness that carries into your dreams. Or tomorrow morning, step outside and look at the sky. Whether clear or cloudy, remember, this sky is within you. Repeat silently, "I am the sky. Thoughts are clouds." As worries arise during the day, pause and visualize them drifting like clouds. As joys arise, savor them like sunshine. This practice grounds you in spaciousness, reminding you that no cloud, however heavy, can erase the vastness of your sky. The mirror and the sky also awaken gratitude. When you realize that every reflection is temporary, every cloud fleeting, you begin to cherish them more deeply. The smile of a friend, the taste of a meal, the warmth of sunlight, all are passing reflections, passing clouds. Their impermanence makes them precious. You stop waiting for perfect skies and start appreciating the beauty of each moment, even those with storms. Gratitude itself becomes a clearing wind, sweeping dust from the mirror, opening the sky. And as gratitude grows, so does peace. You no longer chase endlessly after what you lack. You no longer fight desperately against what you dislike. You rest in the knowledge that everything is part of the dance of reflections and clouds. Life is not about controlling the dance. It is about witnessing it with clarity, compassion, and joy. In the end, the teaching of the mirror and the sky is simple but profound. You are not the reflections, you are not the clouds. You are the clarity beneath, the vastness within. When you forget this, you suffer. When you remember, you are free. So let this be your practice. Each day, notice the reflections in your mirror. Notice the clouds in your sky. Do not cling, do not resist. Simply remember, the mirror is clear, the sky is vast, and you are more than any passing thought. Live from this remembrance, and you will discover a peace that no storm can shatter, a joy that no shadow can dim, a freedom as boundless as the sky itself. Part 6. Grooves of Karma and Habits of Thought. If you stand on the edge of the Mississippi River and watch its waters flow, it is easy to forget that the river was not always there. Long ago, there was only land, soil, stone, earth. But drop by drop, season by season, the water carved its path. At first, the grooves were shallow, fragile, easily changed. But over time, as the water kept flowing, the grooves deepened into channels, the channels into rivers, and the rivers into mighty courses that now shape the land itself. What began as small trickles became forces so powerful that entire landscapes were defined by them. Your mind is carved in the same way. Every thought that flows through it leaves a mark. At first, a single thought seems harmless, a fleeting ripple. But repeated again and again, it carves a groove. I am not enough. I will fail. People cannot be trusted. Each repetition deepens the channel. Soon the thought no longer feels like a passing visitor. It feels like truth, like the natural course of your life. You find yourself drifting into the groove without effort, pulled by the current of habit. This is the nature of mental grooves. They are not destiny, but they become strong through repetition. The Buddha spoke of karma as this cycle of cause and effect. Karma is not a punishment or a reward. It is the simple truth that every thought, every word, every action plants a seed and creates a consequence. Thought leads to feeling. Feeling leads to action. Action leads to result. Result reinforces thought. The cycle continues, deepening the groove. Karma is the riverbed your mind carves with each repetition. Consider someone who constantly entertains the thought, I am unlucky. At first, it is only a complaint, but repeated daily it becomes a groove. They begin to notice only what confirms the belief. A missed bus, a failed exam, a rejection, each waters the groove. They act hesitantly, expecting failure. Others sense this hesitation and offer fewer opportunities. The belief becomes reality, not because it was true, but because the groove shaped the river of their life. This is karma in action. Now consider someone who plants the thought, I can learn. Each time they fail, they repeat it. I can learn. The groove forms. They approach challenges with curiosity, not fear. They act boldly, open to growth. Others sense this confidence and offer support. Success comes, reinforcing the belief. The groove deepens, carrying them forward. This too is karma, the fruit of thoughts turned into actions, turned into destiny. Modern science calls this neuroplasticity. The brain wires itself according to repeated thought and behavior. Neurons that fire together wire together. Habits are literally grooves in the brain, pathways of least resistance. This is why change feels difficult. You are not only fighting a thought, you are climbing out of a groove carved by years of repetition. But just as rivers can be redirected, so too can the grooves of your mind. It requires effort, patience, and consistency, but it is possible. The Buddha compared this to training an ox that has walked the same path to water every day. At first, it resists change, straying back to the old groove. But with persistence, the ox learns the new path. In the same way, your thoughts may return to old grooves, but with practice, you can guide them into new channels. Over time, the new path becomes natural and the old one fades. This is the meaning of transformation, not to erase the past, but to carve new grooves for the future. And every thought you think is part of this carving. This is why awareness is so vital. Without it, you continue deepening old grooves unconsciously. With it, you choose where to direct the river of your mind. Let us look at common grooves. Fear is one. Perhaps you were hurt as a child, rejected by peers, scolded by parents. Each time the thought "I am not safe" was planted, repeated, it carved a groove of fear. Now, as an adult, you hesitate to trust, to speak, to act. The world feels dangerous, not because it truly is, but because your groove pulls you there. Or anger. Perhaps you grew up in conflict, surrounded by shouting. The groove was carved. The way to be heard is to fight. Now anger rises quickly, shaping your words and actions. Relationships suffer not because anger is inevitable, but because the groove is deep. But grooves can also be wholesome. A child raised with encouragement may form the groove, "I am capable." They approach life with confidence. Another raised with kindness may form the groove, "People are good." They approach relationships with trust. These grooves carry them forward just as surely as the destructive ones. Karma does not discriminate. It simply reflects what is planted and repeated. The hopeful truth is that no groove is permanent. The Mississippi carved its path over millennia, but even rivers can be redirected by time and intention. Likewise, no matter how deep your mental grooves, they can be reshaped. The process requires patience. At first, climbing out of the groove feels exhausting. Your mind slips back again and again. But each time you choose differently, you weaken the old path and strengthen the new one. Eventually, the river flows naturally in its new course. Practical exercises help in this redirection. Daily affirmations are one, not empty slogans, but intentional seeds planted repeatedly. I am learning. I am enough. I can face this with courage. At first, they feel forced, like scattering seeds on rocky soil, but repeated daily, they take root. Over time, they carve new grooves. Another exercise is mindful interruption. When you notice the old groove pulling you, pause, take one conscious breath. Say to yourself, "This is the old path, I choose a new one." Then act differently, even in a small way. If the groove says, "Stay silent," speak one sentence. If the groove says, "Give up," take one step. Each interruption is a drop of water carving a new path. Community can also support new grooves. Surround yourself with people who embody the qualities you wish to cultivate. Their presence waters your seeds. If you wish to grow courage, spend time with those who live boldly. If you wish to grow kindness, spend time with those who live compassionately. The grooves of others influence your own. Choose your company wisely. And always practice patience. Grooves formed over years will not vanish overnight, but neither are you trapped forever. Each moment is a chance to plant a new seed, carve a new path, create new karma. The river of your mind is powerful, but you are the one who guides it. Grooves do not only shape individuals, they shape families, cultures, and even nations. A family that repeats patterns of silence may pass down grooves of avoidance. Children grow into adults who do not speak their truth, who carry unspoken wounds into every relationship. A culture that repeats patterns of violence carves grooves of mistrust. Generations grow up believing conflict is the only path to power. A nation that repeats patterns of greed deepens grooves of exploitation. Systems are built that harm both people and the planet. Karma is not merely personal, it is collective. The grooves we carve together shape the destiny of humanity itself. This is why your personal practice matters. When you interrupt the groove of anger in your own mind, you do not only change yourself, you change the world around you. Your children inherit a different groove. Your colleagues feel a different presence. Your community absorbs a different energy. Karma is contagious. Wholesome grooves ripple outward, just as destructive grooves do. In this sense, every act of awareness is an act of service to the world. Think of someone who grew up in a home filled with criticism. The groove formed, I am never good enough. They carry it into adulthood, seeking perfection in everything, never satisfied, always anxious. Then one day they realize the groove is not truth, it is habit. They begin to plant new thoughts. I am worthy as I am. At first the old groove pulls hard, but slowly the new path forms. They begin to live with more ease, more self-compassion. Their children in turn grow up in a different environment, one filled with encouragement rather than criticism. A single decision to recarve a groove transforms an entire lineage. This is karma at work, unfolding across generations. The Buddha's teaching on karma is often misunderstood. People think of it as punishment. Do bad, receive bad. But karma is not retribution. It is simply cause and effect. Plant thorns, harvest thorns. Plant roses, harvest roses. Plant anger, live in anger. Plant compassion, live in compassion. The law is neutral, but its consequences are profound. Understanding this frees you from fear and fills you with responsibility. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always choose the seeds you plant, the grooves you deepen. This understanding is empowering in daily life. Imagine facing disappointment at work. The old groove whispers, I am worthless. Without awareness, you fall into it, carrying discouragement everywhere. But with awareness, you pause, you see the groove forming. You choose differently. This is a setback, not a verdict. I can grow from this. You act from resilience rather than despair. The groove of confidence deepens. Karma begins to shift. Or imagine conflict with a loved one. The old groove says, attack back, defend yourself. Without awareness, you fight, words become wounds, the groove of hostility deepens. But with awareness, you pause. You notice the urge, but you choose instead to listen, to breathe, to speak gently. The groove of compassion deepens. The relationship transforms. Karma bends toward peace. The process is simple in principle but challenging in practice because grooves are stubborn. They are grooves precisely because they have been repeated thousands of times. To shift them requires patience. You may fall back into the old path many times, but every time you notice, every time you choose differently, you weaken the old and strengthen the new. Progress is not measured by never slipping. It is measured by how quickly you return. Each return is victory. Modern neuroscience gives hope here. Studies show that the brain remains plastic throughout life. Even in old age, new grooves can be carved. A person who has lived in fear for decades can still cultivate courage. A person who has carried bitterness for years can still grow compassion. Change is always possible because awareness and repetition always remain available. No groove is beyond reshaping. Practical strategies can help. One is visualization. Each morning, visualize the person you wish to become. Imagine their thoughts, their actions, their presence. By rehearsing this mentally, you plant seeds, you begin carving grooves in the brain. Another strategy is deliberate practice. Choose one small action each day that embodies the new groove. If you wish to grow gratitude, write down one thing you are thankful for each night. If you wish to grow courage, take one small risk each week. If you wish to grow kindness, perform one unnoticed act of service daily. Each small act is a drop of water carving a new channel. Another strategy is replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. Many people live in grooves of judgment. I am stupid. I am weak. I am unlovable. Each repetition deepens despair. But research shows that self-compassion strengthens resilience far more than self-criticism. To practice, place your hand on your heart when judgment arises and say, this is suffering. I am human. May I be kind to myself in this moment. This simple act interrupts the old groove and begins to carve a new one of gentleness. Community also plays a crucial role. Surround yourself with people whose grooves align with your aspirations. If you wish to grow mindfulness, spend time with mindful people. If you wish to grow courage, connect with those who act boldly. If you wish to grow kindness, join communities that serve. We are social beings. The grooves of others shape our own. Choose wisely, and you accelerate transformation. The grooves of karma also remind us to be mindful of what we consume. Every word you read, every sound you hear, every image you see leaves an impression. Move is filled with violence, carve grooves of aggression. Endless news of tragedy carves grooves of fear. Social media filled with comparison carves grooves of envy. But poetry, music, inspiring stories, and uplifting conversations carve grooves of hope, courage, and compassion. Guard the gates of your senses. Choose what grooves you wish to deepen. Let us return to the river image. Imagine two rivers flowing side by side. One is murky, filled with debris, polluted by carelessness. The other is clear, flowing with life, nourishing the land. Both began as small streams. Both were shaped by countless drops. Your mind is the same. Each thought, each action, each choice is a drop. Over time, the drops form rivers, and the rivers shape the world. The question is not whether you will carve grooves, but which grooves you will carve. Ultimately, the grooves of karma remind us of impermanence and possibility. You are not doomed by your past. You are not defined by your old grooves. They may be deep, but they are not unchangeable. With awareness, intention, and practice, new grooves can always be carved. And as new grooves form, new karma unfolds. Your future is not a prison. It is a garden, a river, a path you are carving with every thought today. So begin now. Notice the grooves that no longer serve you. Interrupt them with awareness. Replace them with seeds of courage, compassion, gratitude, wisdom. Repeat daily. Trust the process. The river will change course. The garden will bloom differently. Karma will unfold in new directions. And one day, you will look back and see clearly. The grooves that once enslaved you have become the grooves that sustain you. The currents that once dragged you down have become the currents that carry you forward. You will see that karma was never fate. It was the mirror of your thoughts, the echo of your choices, the fruit of your seeds. And you will know with deep peace that the grooves of your mind are always yours to shape. Part 7. Discipline and Patience, the Twin Guardians. Every garden, no matter how carefully planted, is vulnerable. Seeds may be scattered with care, watered with attention, and blessed with sunlight, yet without protection, weeds creep in, animals trample the soil, storms wash away the fragile shoots. A wise gardener knows this and builds fences, tends the ground daily, and waits patiently for growth to appear. So it is with the garden of your mind. Seeds of thought, once planted, require two guardians to flourish: discipline and patience. Without them, the garden withers. With them, it thrives. Discipline is the fence. It is the steady commitment to protect what matters. Without discipline, your efforts are scattered. You meditate once, then forget. You practice kindness occasionally, but abandon it when anger rises. You plant gratitude one morning, but by evening you drown in complaint. Discipline gathers these scattered attempts and shapes them into a consistent path. It is not punishment, it is protection. Just as a fence does not harm the garden but shields it, discipline does not restrict life but guards your peace. Patience is the quiet strength that endures the seasons. No seed grows overnight. Farmers in Asia who plant bamboo know this truth deeply. For years, the seed shows nothing. Underground, roots spread wide, unseen, preparing. Then suddenly in one season the bamboo shoots rise meters into the sky. Without patience, the farmer would abandon the field, convinced nothing is happening. With patience, he continues watering, trusting the unseen. The same is true of your mind. For weeks, months, even years, your efforts may feel invisible, but beneath the surface, roots are forming. Patience is the faith to continue, even when results are not yet visible. Together, discipline and patience are like twin guardians standing at the gate of your mind's garden. One protects from neglect, the other from despair. One ensures you keep showing up, the other ensures you keep trusting. Alone, they falter. Discipline without patience becomes harshness. You push yourself so hard that you break. Patience without discipline becomes laziness. You wait endlessly without action. but together they create harmony, a path that is steady, sustainable, and fruitful. Modern life makes both guardians difficult. We live in an age of speed. Messages flash instantly, deliveries arrive within hours, entertainment streams without pause. We have been trained to expect results now, but the mind does not work this way. The deepest grooves take time to reshape. The strongest seeds take time to sprout. Impatience kills many transformations before they begin. People meditate for a week, see no change, and quit. They try gratitude for a month, but old complaints return and they abandon it. They forget that every meaningful growth, whether in nature, relationships, or the mind, unfolds in seasons, not seconds. Discipline is equally challenged. Distractions are everywhere. Your phone buzzes, your mind wanders, your commitments scatter. Without discipline, the garden is left unguarded and weeds of habit reclaim it quickly. Discipline is the choice to return again and again to what matters. It is waking up early to sit in silence, even when the bed is warm. It is pausing to breathe before reacting, even when anger surges. It is saying no to what scatters your energy, so you can say yes to what deepens your soul. Discipline is not glamorous. It is often quiet, repetitive, uncelebrated. But without it, no garden grows. Think of someone training for a marathon. They do not run 26 miles the first day. They rise early, run short distances, build steadily. Some days they are tired, some days they do not want to run, but discipline carries them. Months later, they stand at the finish line, transformed. The same is true of your spiritual journey. Meditation, kindness, patience, these are your training runs. Discipline carries you until the transformation is visible. Patience adds the heart. Imagine a mother holding her child's hand as he learns to walk. He falls again and again. Without patience, she would scold, despair, or give up. But with patience, she smiles, lifts him, encourages him to try again. Slowly, he learns. This is how you must treat yourself. You will stumble. Old grooves will pull you back. Anger will flare, fear will return, envy will whisper. Without patience, you will call yourself a failure and quit. With patience, you will smile. Remind yourself that learning takes time and rise again. Patience is love in action. Discipline without patience often disguises itself as achievement. In cities like New York or San Francisco, people rise before dawn, rush from meeting to meeting, chase deadlines, and push themselves relentlessly. They are disciplined, yes, but their discipline is fueled by fear. Fear of falling behind, fear of being unworthy, fear of losing status. Such discipline becomes a prison, a set of iron bars forged by their own ambition. They may succeed outwardly, but inwardly the garden of their mind is scorched. The fence is so rigid that no life can grow within. True discipline is different. It is not about control for the sake of fear, but about devotion for the sake of love. When you rise to meditate each morning, not because you fear failure, but because you love peace, discipline becomes nourishment. When you choose kindness in a heated moment, not because you fear judgment, but because you value compassion, discipline becomes freedom. True discipline protects your garden without strangling it. It says, I care enough about this seed to show up for it daily, even when I do not feel like it. Patience, too, must be cultivated carefully. Many confuse patience with passivity. They think patience means waiting endlessly, tolerating injustice, or never speaking up. But patience is not weakness, it is strength. It is not passive acceptance of harm, but active trust in the rhythm of growth. A farmer does not sit idly doing nothing while waiting for crops. He weeds, waters, and tends the soil. But he does not demand that seeds sprout before their time. That balance, work combined with trust, is patience. In the same way, patience in the mind is not giving up effort, but releasing the demand for instant results. Modern psychology confirms the wisdom of patience. Studies show that delayed gratification, the ability to wait for a greater reward instead of grasping at immediate pleasure, is one of the strongest predictors of success and well-being. Children who learn to wait for 2 marshmallows instead of eating one immediately grow into adults who handle stress better, achieve more, and enjoy stronger relationships. Patience is not merely a virtue, it is a skill that shapes destiny. Discipline and patience work hand in hand in relationships. Think of a long marriage. Without discipline, love withers. Discipline is the daily choice to listen, to compromise, to remain faithful. Without patience, love collapses. Patience is the willingness to endure seasons of difficulty, to trust that storms will pass, to believe that growth takes time. Together, they guard the relationship like twin sentinels. Marriages that endure decades are not built on fleeting passion alone. They are built on disciplined care and patient trust. The same is true in personal growth. Suppose you wish to transform anger into compassion. Without discipline, you will give in at the first spark of irritation, snapping at others, repeating old grooves. Without patience, you will despair after one failure, saying, "I will never change." But with discipline, you pause each time, breathe, and choose differently, again and again. With patience, you trust that even when anger returns, you are still learning, still growing. Slowly, compassion takes root. Stories bring this truth to life. There is a tale from Japan about a master archer who trained his student not by letting him shoot hundreds of arrows, but by asking him to hold the bowstring at full draw, motionless, for hours each day. The student was impatient, begging to release the arrow. But the master insisted. Discipline first, patience first. Only after months did he allow the arrow to fly, and when it did, it struck the target effortlessly. The lesson was clear. Skill arises not from quick results, but from discipline and patience working together. Another story is from the bamboo groves of China. A villager planted bamboo seeds and watered them daily. For a year, nothing. For 2 years, still nothing. Neighbors laughed, saying he was wasting his time. For 5 years, nothing sprouted, but he kept watering, trusting. Then in the 5th year, shoots broke through, and within weeks the bamboo soared 80 feet high. The years were not wasted. The roots had been growing unseen, preparing for the rapid rise. So it is with your inner growth. For years, it may feel invisible, but patience assures you that change is happening beneath the surface. And when the time comes, transformation will rise with strength. Discipline and patience also reshape how we respond to suffering. Pain often tempts us into extremes, either denial or despair. Discipline keeps us from denial, it compels us to face reality with courage. Patience keeps us from despair. It reminds us that pain is temporary, that healing will come in time. Together, they allow us to endure hardship without losing hope. Consider someone battling illness. Discipline is taking medicine, resting properly following treatment. Patience is enduring the slow recovery, trusting the body's rhythm. Without discipline, health falters. Without patience, hope collapses. With both, healing becomes possible. Practical exercises strengthen these guardians. Begin with small commitments. Discipline grows by keeping promises to yourself. Choose one daily practice, perhaps 10 minutes of silence each morning. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. Each day you keep the promise, the fence around your garden grows stronger. Patience grows by embracing long timelines. Choose one area where you crave instant results: weight loss, meditation, learning a skill. Each time impatience arises, remind yourself, this is a season, not a sprint. The roots are growing unseen. Over time, impatience loses its grip, and patience becomes your natural state. Discipline and patience also require compassion. Many people turn discipline into self-punishment and patience into resignation. They whip themselves with harsh schedules, then collapse in exhaustion. Or they wait passively, excusing laziness as patience. True discipline is steady, not harsh. True patience is active, not idle. Both arise from love, love for your growth, love for your peace, love for your life. Without love, discipline is tyranny and patience is weakness. With love, they are guardians. Discipline and patience are not abstract virtues. They are living practices that touch every corner of your life. Consider creativity. Artists, musicians, writers, all must sit daily before the blank canvas, the silent instrument, the empty page. Inspiration alone is not enough. Discipline brings them back, even when ideas feel absent. Patience keeps them steady, trusting that beauty will emerge in its time. Masterpieces are not accidents, they are the harvest of these twin guardians. In spiritual practice, discipline and patience are equally essential. A monk once asked the Buddha, "How long must I meditate to reach enlightenment?" The Buddha replied, "Do not count the years. Simply practice with sincerity each day and let the fruit ripen when it is ready." Discipline is the sincerity to sit, to breathe, to return again and again. Patience is the wisdom to let awakening unfold at its own pace. Together, they prevent both arrogance and despair. Without them, practice becomes either frantic striving or careless drifting. With them, practice becomes a path that endures. One of the deepest challenges in modern society is our obsession with speed. We want shortcuts, hacks, instant transformations. Advertisements promise six-pack abs in 6 weeks, mastery of a skill in 30 days, happiness in 10 easy steps. These illusions weaken both guardians. They tell us that discipline is unnecessary and patience is outdated. But true growth has no shortcuts. A tree does not grow overnight. A child does not mature in a month. Inner peace does not arrive with a click. Discipline and patience remind us of the deeper rhythm of life, a rhythm that cannot be rushed, only honored. This is not to say that discipline and patience are always comfortable. Often they feel like struggle. Waking early to sit in silence while your body longs for more sleep requires discipline. Holding steady through months of practice without visible results requires patience. But comfort is not the goal, growth is. And growth often feels uncomfortable at first. Just as muscles ache when trained, the mind resists when old grooves are challenged. Discipline and patience carry you through this resistance until new strength is born. In relationships, these guardians reveal their power most clearly in times of conflict. When tempers flare, discipline is the pause before speaking, the choice to breathe rather than attack. Patience is the willingness to endure the silence, to give time for emotions to cool, to allow healing to emerge. Without discipline, words become weapons that wound deeply. Without patience, reconciliation is abandoned too soon. But with both, even the deepest fractures can mend. Discipline and patience are also essential for raising children. A parent's discipline shows in the consistency of guidance, in teaching right from wrong, in modeling good habits. A parent's patience shows in listening, in understanding that growth takes time, in forgiving mistakes. Children thrive when both guardians are present. Too much discipline without patience breeds fear and rebellion. Too much patience without discipline breeds chaos and insecurity. Balance brings wisdom. The Buddha once used the metaphor of tuning a lute. If the strings are too tight, they break. If too loose, they make no sound. Discipline is tightening, patience is loosening. Together they create harmony. Your life, too, must be tuned. Too much discipline without patience leads to burnout. Too much patience without discipline leads to stagnation. Balance them and your life sings. Practical steps help strengthen this balance. For discipline, set clear intentions. Write them down. Begin small, 5 minutes of meditation, 1 act of kindness, 1 moment of gratitude daily. Keep promises to yourself no matter how small. Each kept promise strengthens the fence around your garden. For patience, practice mindfulness of time. When you feel restless, remind yourself, growth is unfolding even if unseen. When you feel stuck, recall the bamboo. Roots are growing even if shoots are not yet visible. Each reminder strengthens your trust. Remember also that discipline and patience are not rigid, they adapt with compassion. If you miss a day of practice, discipline does not scold, it gently guides you back. If results are slow, patience does not despair, it smiles and continues. These guardians are not harsh soldiers, they are wise friends. They protect your garden not with violence but with steady love. As you reflect on your own life, ask, where do I need more discipline? Where do I need more patience? Perhaps you act with good intentions but lack consistency, then discipline must be strengthened. Perhaps you work tirelessly but demand instant results, then patience must be nurtured. Awareness of these imbalances is the first step. From awareness, you can adjust, tuning your life like the strings of the lute until harmony is found. Ultimately, discipline and patience shape the destiny of your mind. They determine whether your seeds of thought grow into forests of peace or wither in neglect. They decide whether your garden thrives or becomes overrun with weeds. They are not glamorous, but they are essential. Without them, no practice endures, no transformation lasts. With them, every practice blossoms, every transformation becomes possible. So honor these twin guardians. When you feel tempted to give up, remember patience. When you feel scattered, remember discipline. Place them at the gate of your mind and trust them to protect what is most precious. Over time, you will see the fruits of their guardianship. A mind that is steady, a heart that is kind, a life that is rooted in peace. And one day, looking back, you will understand. Every moment of discipline was worth it. Every act of patience bore fruit. The garden of your mind will stand tall, flourishing, radiant. And the twin guardians, silent and steadfast, will smile at the work they have done. Part 8. Beyond the self, you are not your thoughts. We are not our thoughts. This is one of the most profound teachings in both Eastern and Western philosophy, and yet it is also one of the hardest truths to fully embrace. From the moment we wake up until the moment we fall asleep, our minds are filled with an endless stream of thoughts, some comforting, some unsettling, some hopeful, some tragic. They come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky. Yet how often do we mistake those clouds for the sky itself? How often do we identify with them, believing them to be who we truly are? This is the trap. We live as though we are our thoughts. When anger arises, we say, "I am angry." When fear arises, we say, "I am afraid." When shame arises, we say, "I am broken." We believe that these thoughts define us, that they are permanent, that they are our essence. But the Buddha's profound teaching was simple. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts are clouds. You are the sky. Imagine a vast, open sky. It is limitless, boundless, eternal. The sky does not fight the clouds, nor does it identify with them. The sky is simply aware of the clouds, allowing them to pass through. In the same way, you are the sky. Thoughts are the clouds, sometimes heavy, sometimes light, sometimes dark, sometimes bright, but always transient. The sky does not change because of the clouds, and neither does your true nature change because of your thoughts. The first step in freeing yourself from the tyranny of your mind is to realize this fundamental truth. You are the observer, not the observed. You are the one who watches the thoughts arise and pass away, not the thoughts themselves. When you identify with your thoughts, you become enslaved by them. They lead you in circles, drag you into stories of fear, worry, and regret. You feel as though you are constantly at the mercy of your mind, pulled this way and that by its whims. But when you recognize that you are the observer, everything changes. You become the stillness beneath the storm of thoughts. You become the awareness that watches thoughts come and go without being caught up in them. This realization is liberating. It means that you do not have to believe every thought you think. You do not have to be defined by every emotion that rises. You are the one who watches them, who experiences them, but who is not bound by them. This understanding brings immense freedom. If you are not your thoughts, then you are free to choose which thoughts to entertain and which to release. You are free to let go of limiting beliefs, destructive patterns, and habitual responses. Instead of being swept away by the currents of your thoughts, you stand firm like a mountain, unshaken by the winds that blow across your mind. This recognition is not something that happens once and is done. It is an ongoing practice of disidentification. In every moment, you have the opportunity to step back from your thoughts and remember, this is not who I am. The mind will continue to produce thoughts, but you do not have to take them as truth. The key is awareness, the awareness that sees thoughts as they are, not as they appear. For example, when fear arises, you can say, I am having the thought that I am afraid. Immediately, you create a distance between yourself and the fear. The fear is no longer who you are. It is simply a thought passing through. You do not suppress it, but you do not identify with it either. You can feel the fear, acknowledge its presence, and yet remain rooted in the awareness that you are something deeper than that fear. This practice is the essence of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of noticing your thoughts without becoming entangled in them. It is the practice of being the watcher, not the participant. Imagine sitting by a river, watching the water flow. You do not jump into the river, you simply watch it move. Your thoughts are like the river. They come, they flow, they change. You watch them, but you do not get carried away. This is mindfulness, the awareness that you are the riverbank, not the current. In modern life, this practice is more crucial than ever. We live in a culture that encourages constant identification with our thoughts. The media bombards us with messages about what we should think, feel, and desire. Social media floods our minds with comparisons, judgments, and expectations. We are constantly told that our thoughts define us, that who we are is determined by our success, our appearance, our possessions, and our approval from others. But this is a lie. Who you are is not defined by the stories your mind tells you. You are not your job, your status, your bank account, or your body. You are not your past mistakes, your regrets, your failures, or your pain. You are the awareness in which these things appear. You are the sky, not the clouds. You are the silence beneath the noise. In spiritual traditions, this truth is referred to as the true self. The true self is not the ego, not the mind, not the body. It is the part of you that remains untouched by time and circumstance. It is the witness, the observer, the essence that has always been and always will be. The more you disidentify with your thoughts and emotions, the more you come to know this true self. In practical terms, this means that when you experience difficult emotions, you can say to yourself, "This is not me. This is a feeling, a thought, a passing moment. I am the awareness of it." It may not immediately dissolve the feeling, but it shifts your relationship to it. You no longer become consumed by it. You simply witness it, let it flow, and let it go. The practice of disidentifying with thoughts is transformative. It allows you to live more fully in the present moment, free from the constant chatter of the mind. When you are not defined by your thoughts, you are free to experience life directly, without the filter of judgment, fear, or expectation. You can enjoy simple pleasures without clinging to them. You can endure pain without becoming it. You can love without fear of loss. In relationships, this practice is also powerful. So often we become entangled in stories about other people. We think, they don't care about me, they don't respect me, they will hurt me. These thoughts are not truths, they are simply stories. When you realize that you are not your thoughts, you can separate yourself from these stories. You can see others as they are, not through the lens of fear or judgment. This brings clarity, compassion, and peace to all your relationships. The more you practice this disidentification, the more you come to rest in your true nature. Your thoughts become less personal, less overwhelming. You no longer take them as facts. You become the silent observer, the stillness beneath the waves. This is freedom. Freedom is not the absence of thoughts, but the ability to witness them without being swept away. Freedom is the recognition that you are not your thoughts, but the awareness in which they arise. In the next few days, take a moment to practice this. When a thought arises, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, simply notice, "This is a thought, it is not who I am." Try it with emotions too. "This is sadness, but I am not sadness. This is anger, but I am not anger." Notice the space that opens up. The more you practice, the more you will recognize that you are the vast sky and your thoughts are just passing clouds. The key to understanding that you are not your thoughts is realizing that they come and go, just like clouds in the sky. They do not remain, nor do they define you. In the stillness of awareness, you can witness the thoughts without being dragged into them. It is the mind that identifies with thoughts, but you, the true self, are the awareness that sees them for what they are. Passing phenomena. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a clear, flowing river. The water carries leaves, twigs, and small debris, but the river itself remains constant, flowing smoothly forward. Your mind is like that river. Thoughts are like the debris carried along with it. At first glance, the debris seems like a part of the river, but when you step back and see the bigger picture, you realize that it is simply floating on the surface. The river's true nature, The flow, the movement, is unchanged by the leaves or the twigs. Similarly, your true nature remains undisturbed by the thoughts that pass through your mind. This realization is liberating. It means that no thought, no feeling, no experience can define you. Thoughts of fear, anger, or doubt are not who you are. They are simply temporary visitors. They come, they stay for a moment, and they leave. You are the witness to all of it. When you disidentify with your thoughts, you stop reacting to them with fear, judgment, or attachment. You let them pass through without clinging to them. You create a space where the mind can settle into its natural state of clarity and peace. One way to practice this disidentification is through mindfulness meditation. In meditation, we sit in stillness, observing the thoughts that arise without getting caught in them. Imagine sitting in a peaceful garden, watching the clouds drift across the sky. Each thought is like a cloud, appearing for a moment, then dissolving. At first, the mind is filled with thoughts and it may feel overwhelming. But with practice, you begin to notice the spaces between the clouds, the moments of stillness and peace. You begin to recognize that you are the sky itself, vast and empty, not the clouds passing through it. In daily life, this practice can be incredibly powerful. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a thought, take a moment to pause and observe it. Instead of identifying with the thought, "I am stressed," or "I am afraid," simply say to yourself, "This is a thought. I am the one who is aware of it." When you step back and observe the thought, you immediately create distance between yourself and it. You become the observer, not the participant. This shift in perspective is incredibly freeing. You are no longer controlled by the thought, you can choose how to respond to it. In relationships, this practice is transformative. How often do we identify with thoughts of judgment or criticism about others? They don't understand me. They always disappoint me. They are never there for me. These thoughts arise and we immediately react, but when you disidentify with them, you create space. You begin to see the other person not through the lens of judgment, but with compassion. You see that their actions are not a reflection of you. They are simply their own thoughts, their own stories. You can listen with an open heart without the weight of your judgments clouding your perception. This is the true freedom that comes from disidentifying with thoughts. You are no longer caught in the turbulence of the mind. You are the stillness beneath it. The thoughts come and the thoughts go, but you remain as the observer. You are no longer a slave to your mental patterns. You are free to choose how to respond, how to engage with the world. This understanding also deepens your relationship with yourself. The thoughts that arise about your worth, your past, your potential, are not who you are. They are simply reflections of the mind's habitual patterns. "I am unworthy," the thought says. But when you disidentify with it, you see it for what it is, just a thought, a passing cloud. You can choose to replace it with a new thought. "I am worthy, I am enough." The more you practice this, the more you begin to embody the truth that your worth is not dependent on your thoughts, your accomplishments, or the opinions of others. Your worth is inherent. It is unshakable. Let's look at fear in this context. Fear arises naturally in response to potential danger. It is part of our survival instinct. But the problem arises when we identify with fear. We think, "I am afraid," and suddenly fear becomes our identity. We stop acting. We stop moving forward. We freeze. But when we disidentify with fear, we realize that fear is simply a signal, not a command. We can feel the fear, acknowledge it, but we do not have to act from it. Fear may arise, but it no longer defines our choices. We can choose to act with courage instead. This shift from identification to observation is crucial. Instead of seeing fear as an obstacle, you begin to see it as a teacher. Fear shows you where growth is needed. It shows you what matters to you. By stepping back from it and observing it as a thought, you begin to respond to it with wisdom. You can say, "This fear is not who I am. I choose to face it. I choose to move forward." And with each step you take, you strengthen your inner resolve. This also applies to negative emotions like anger. Anger is a powerful emotion, but when we identify with it, it consumes us. "I am angry," we say, and we let that anger dictate our behavior. But when we disidentify with anger, we see it for what it is, a passing cloud. We feel the heat of the emotion, but we do not let it control us. We breathe. We create space. And in that space, we choose a different response. Instead of reacting with harsh words or actions, we respond with calm and compassion. This is where mindfulness truly shines. It teaches us to notice the moment we are swept up in a thought or emotion and create space before we react. It teaches us to step back and say, "This is not me. This is a thought, a feeling, a sensation. I am the one who is aware of it." In this moment of awareness, we become free to choose how we engage with our thoughts, emotions, and the world around us. The practice of mindfulness also helps us to reconnect with the present moment. When we are lost in our thoughts, we are no longer fully present in our lives. We are either reliving the past or worrying about the future. But when we practice disidentifying with thoughts, we return to the present. We are no longer at the mercy of our mental patterns. We become fully present in our bodies, in our surroundings, in our relationships. This presence is where peace resides. It is where true freedom is found. One practice that can deepen this awareness is the body scan technique. In this practice, you focus your attention on different parts of your body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head. As you scan each part, you notice any sensations, tension, or discomfort. But you do not identify with these sensations. You simply observe them. You are the witness, not the sensation itself. This practice helps you disidentify with your thoughts and return to the present moment. Another helpful technique is the practice of labeling your thoughts. When a thought arises, you simply label it. This is a thought of fear, or this is a thought of judgment, or this is a thought of desire. By labeling your thoughts, you create distance between yourself and them. You begin to see them for what they are, fleeting, transient, and ultimately impermanent. This practice is like watching clouds drift by in the sky. The clouds are not you. You are the sky. As you continue to deepen your practice of disidentification, you may begin to notice a subtle shift in your awareness. You begin to see that your thoughts are not just fleeting clouds. They are conditioned patterns, deeply ingrained over time. The thoughts that arise in your mind are not random. They are shaped by the experiences of your past, the culture you live in, and the stories you've told yourself. Yet none of this is who you are. These patterns, like clouds, are transient. They come and go, but they do not define the sky. Understanding this is both freeing and humbling. It means that every thought you have, no matter how loud or persistent, is not an unchangeable truth. It is simply a product of your conditioning. You are not stuck with the thoughts that arise in your mind. You can choose to let them pass, just as you would let a cloud drift across the sky. In this way, you reclaim your power. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the awareness that witnesses them. This realization is the key to inner peace. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, they lose their power over you. They no longer control your emotions, your reactions, or your choices. You become the master of your own mind. This understanding of the mind as separate from the self is what the Buddha meant when he spoke of the true nature or the true self. Your true self is not defined by your thoughts, your actions, or your emotions. It is the awareness behind all of these. It is the stillness that underlies the constant noise of the mind. It is the sky, vast and infinite, in which thoughts are but passing clouds. In Western psychology, this concept is echoed in the idea of the observer self, or witness consciousness. In mindfulness practices, the observer self is the part of you that watches your thoughts, emotions, and experiences without judgment. It is the part of you that recognizes that you are not your thoughts, but the awareness in which they arise. This is the gateway to freedom. The observer self allows you to step back from your thoughts, emotions, and actions and see them with clarity. When you are identified with your thoughts, you become lost in them. You think, "I am anxious," or "I am angry," and that becomes your reality. But when you step back and observe your thoughts, you can say, "I am having the thought that I am anxious," or "I am having the thought that I am angry." This simple shift creates space between you and your thoughts. It allows you to see that they are not who you are, they are simply passing phenomena. This shift in perspective can be deeply transformative. It allows you to see that your emotions are not permanent. They are like waves on the surface of the ocean, sometimes large and overwhelming, sometimes small and gentle but always changing. When you are identified with your emotions, you believe that they define you. But when you step back and observe them, you see that they are simply temporary states that come and go. In relationships, this understanding can be a game changer. How often do we identify with the thoughts and emotions that arise in response to others? When someone criticizes us, we may think, "I am unworthy," or "I am not good enough." But these are just thoughts and they are not the truth. When you practice disidentifying with these thoughts, you can see the situation more clearly. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or anger, you can respond with compassion and understanding. You no longer take things personally because you understand that the thoughts and emotions that arise in response to others are just passing clouds in the sky of your mind. Let's consider a personal example. Imagine you receive an email from a colleague that feels critical. Without awareness, your mind may immediately jump to the thought, "They don't respect me. I'm not good enough." You feel defensive, hurt, and maybe even angry. But with awareness, you step back and observe. This is a thought. It's not who I am. I am having the thought that I'm not good enough. By disidentifying with the thought, you give yourself space to choose how to respond. You might respond calmly, asking for clarification, or you might simply let it go, knowing that the thought is not the truth. In this way, disidentifying with your thoughts allows you to live with greater clarity and compassion. It allows you to respond to life's challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity. It allows you to be free from the constant fluctuations of the mind, and to experience the peace and stillness that is your true nature. Another powerful way to practice disidentifying with your thoughts is through self-compassion. Often, the thoughts that arise in our minds are filled with judgment. We think, "I am not good enough," or "I am a failure," or "I will never be happy." But these thoughts are not the truth. They are just reflections of past conditioning. When you practice self-compassion, you remind yourself that you are not defined by your thoughts. You are not your mistakes, your shortcomings, or your perceived flaws. You are the awareness that observes them. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with kindness and understanding, even when you feel unworthy or flawed. It is the practice of recognizing that you are human and that it's okay to make mistakes. Instead of identifying with your perceived shortcomings, you remind yourself that they are not who you are. You are the awareness in which they arise. This practice can be incredibly liberating. It frees you from the grip of self-judgment and allows you to approach life with a sense of love and acceptance. The key to all of this is awareness. Awareness is the gateway to disidentifying with your thoughts and experiencing your true nature. When you are aware of your thoughts, you can see them as they are, temporary, fleeting, and not the truth. Awareness allows you to step back from your thoughts and emotions and observe them with clarity. It creates space between you and your thoughts, and in that space, freedom arises. This practice of disidentification is not something that happens overnight. It requires patience, dedication, and consistency. But with time, you begin to see that your thoughts and emotions no longer control you. You begin to experience life as it is, without the filter of your mind's stories and judgments. You begin to rest in the stillness of your true nature, beyond the mind, beyond the self. This is the freedom the Buddha spoke of, the freedom to be yourself, unshackled by the thoughts and stories you have identified with for so long. When you realize that you are not your thoughts, you begin to see the world with fresh eyes. You begin to see others not as reflections of your own fears and judgments, but as they truly are. You begin to experience life with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and joy. The freedom to be yourself, to be fully present in the moment, to be at peace with who you are, this is the gift of disidentifying with your thoughts. It is the freedom to live without the weight of past regrets, future anxieties, or self-imposed limitations. It is the freedom to be the sky, vast and open, free from the clouds of thought that once defined you. Part 9. Inner World, Outer Reflection. The world you see is not the world as it is. It is the world as you perceive it. We often think of the world as something out there, something objective, separate from us. But the truth is, our experience of the world is shaped entirely by our inner state, by the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that color our perception. This is why two people can experience the same event in completely different ways. One might see a challenge as an opportunity for growth, while the other sees it as a threat. One might meet a stranger with openness and curiosity, while the other approaches them with suspicion. The difference is not in the outer world, but in the inner lens through which it is viewed. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the profound connection between inner and outer worlds. He taught that we are not simply passive observers of the world, but active participants in creating it through our perceptions. With our thoughts, we make the world, he said. What he meant is that our mental patterns, our fears, desires, judgments, shape the world we see. They dictate how we react to the world, how we interpret others, and how we respond to life's challenges. Imagine you wake up in the morning and immediately start thinking about all the things you need to do. You think, I have so much to accomplish today. I'm already behind. I'll never get everything done. What happens next? Your perception of the day becomes clouded by stress and overwhelm. Every task you face feels like a mountain. Every person you meet feels like a potential obstacle. The world outside reflects the anxiety inside your mind. Now, imagine waking up with a different thought. Today is a new day full of possibilities. I am capable and I can handle whatever comes my way. The difference in your inner state is subtle but profound. Your perception of the day shifts. You approach challenges with calm confidence. You engage with others more openly and with more kindness. The world outside becomes a reflection of the peace and positivity within. This is the power of your inner world. It shapes how you see everything, from the people you interact with to the opportunities that arise to the challenges that seem to block your path. The world does not just exist as an objective reality out there. It is filtered through the lens of your beliefs and attitudes, and in this sense, you are constantly creating your reality. But how do we change our inner world? How do we shift the lens through which we view the world so that it reflects peace, joy, and possibility, rather than fear, scarcity, and limitation? The answer lies in awareness and intention. First, we must become aware of the lens through which we see the world. What are the dominant thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that color your perception? Do you tend to see the world as a place of abundance, or do you believe it is a place of lack? Do you approach others with openness and curiosity, or do you expect them to disappoint or betray you? The first step is simply to observe. In many ways, the inner world is like a mirror. It reflects whatever is placed before it. If you place anger, judgment, and fear before the mirror of your mind, that is what you will see reflected in your life. If you place love, compassion, and gratitude before it, that too is what you will see. The quality of the reflection depends entirely on the quality of the image you project. One powerful practice to change your inner world is the cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude is a lens that transforms how we see everything. When you practice gratitude, you begin to see the world as abundant rather than lacking. You notice the beauty in the small things, your breath, a kind word, the sun rising in the morning. The world becomes a reflection of the goodness you choose to see. Another practice is to replace negative judgments with compassion. We often judge others based on our own fears and insecurities. But when you practice compassion, you start to see people as they truly are, not as obstacles, but as fellow travelers on this journey of life. You understand that their actions are often a reflection of their own pain and suffering, not of you. The world outside no longer feels hostile, it feels connected, and you feel more at peace in it. A third practice is mindfulness, the practice of being present and fully aware in each moment. When you are mindful, you stop projecting past fears and future anxieties onto the present. You simply experience what is happening now without judgment. When you live mindfully, the world becomes clearer, more vibrant, and more alive. You stop seeing life as a series of problems to solve and start seeing it as a series of moments to experience. These practices are not just about feeling good. They are about changing the very lens through which you see the world. They are about recalibrating your perception so that it reflects the truth of who you are, the essence of love, peace, and connection. And as your inner world shifts, so too does your outer world. When your inner world is full of fear and negativity, you see the world through the lens of danger and scarcity. You are constantly on guard, expecting the worst. But when your inner world is full of peace and compassion, you see the world through the lens of possibility and abundance. You approach life with curiosity and openness, and the world responds in kind. This does not mean that external challenges disappear. It means that your perception of them changes. What once seemed like an obstacle now becomes an opportunity. What once seemed like an attack now becomes an invitation to grow. The outer world may remain the same, but your inner world transforms, and that is what changes everything. Think of the power of perception in everyday life. When you are frustrated, when your mind is filled with judgment, the world feels like a series of inconveniences. The driver who cuts you off, the person who talks over you, the coworker who interrupts, it all feels like an assault. But when you practice mindfulness, when you shift your inner world to one of patience and compassion, the same world appears differently. You see the driver as someone who is in a rush, not as a threat. You see the person who interrupts as someone who is passionate, not disrespectful. The world has not changed. You have changed, and that changes everything. This shift in perception is also deeply connected to how we experience other people. The more we judge others, the more we see them as separate from us. We build walls around ourselves, and the world becomes a battleground of us vs. them. But when we shift our inner world to one of compassion and understanding, we begin to see others as they are, fellow travelers on the same path. We see their struggles, their pain, their joy. We stop seeing them as threats, and we begin to see them as human beings just like ourselves. This change in perception breaks down the barriers that divide us and brings us closer to one another. When you see the world through the lens of love, you begin to recognize the connection between all things. You see that the person who cuts you off in traffic is not your enemy. They are simply another soul, caught in the rush of life, just like you. You see that the person who disagrees with you is not someone to be feared. They are simply someone who has lived a different life and carries different experiences. The lens of love opens your eyes to the shared humanity that unites us all. This is not an idealistic or passive way of living. It is a practical way of being in the world, grounded in awareness and compassion. It allows you to move through life with an open heart, unburdened by fear, judgment, or resentment. It allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength and clarity, rather than weakness and confusion. And it allows you to see the beauty and potential in every moment, every person, and every challenge. The world outside you is not as it appears. It is a reflection of the world within you. When your inner world is full of peace, love, and clarity, that is what you will see reflected in the world. And when you begin to change your inner world, the world outside begins to shift as well. The mirror does not lie, it reflects what is placed before it. Place love, compassion, and understanding before the mirror of your mind, and watch as the world transforms into a reflection of those qualities. Part 10. Stillness. In the chaos of life, we often think of victory as something loud. We imagine the roar of the crowd, the clash of swords, the moment of triumph when we overcome our enemies or achieve our goals. But the greatest victory, the one that eludes most, is not a loud victory at all. It is the victory of stillness. The ability to remain calm, centered, and peaceful, even in the midst of the storm. This is the true victory, the victory of the mind, the heart, and the soul. Stillness is not weakness. It is not inaction. It is not passivity. Stillness is a power so profound that it can face any challenge, weather any storm, and emerge unscathed. Stillness is the silent strength that allows you to be unaffected by the chaos of the world. It is the center of the hurricane, the eye that sees everything but remains untouched. In stillness, there is no fear, no anxiety, no agitation. There is only presence. And from that presence arises the greatest clarity. In the Buddha's final moments, when he lay on his deathbed surrounded by his disciples, he said, "Be a lamp unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves. Do not look outside for refuge." These words are a call to find the ultimate victory within. Stillness is the refuge within. It is the place where no external force can touch you because you are grounded in your true nature. When you are still, you are rooted in peace, in wisdom, in love. You are untouched by the outer world, yet you engage with it fully. This is the paradox of stillness. It is both a retreat and an engagement. You retreat inward to find your center, and from that place of inner peace you engage with the world in a more powerful and effective way. The world often tells us that to succeed, we must hustle, strive, push, and fight. We are conditioned to believe that victory comes through action, through effort, through the force of will. But there is another path. The path of stillness is the path of letting go of effort, of surrendering to the present moment, of trusting that everything we need is already within us. In stillness, we stop fighting against ourselves. We stop struggling to be something we are not. We simply are. Stillness allows us to see the world clearly without the distortion of our desires, fears, or judgments. It is like cleaning the lens of a camera. It removes the smudges, the dirt, the distractions. With a clear lens, we can see the world in its true beauty. Stillness is the lens that allows us to see clearly, not just the world but ourselves. When we stop moving, when we stop striving, when we simply sit in the present moment, we begin to see who we truly are. We stop identifying with our thoughts, our stories, our identities, and we connect with the essence of who we are. We realize that we are not our past, our mistakes, our successes, or our failures. We are the stillness beneath it all. This stillness is not something that can be acquired through external means. It is already within you. It is your true nature. The mind is naturally still, just as the ocean is naturally calm beneath the surface. The waves of thoughts, emotions, and experiences may rise and fall, but beneath it all, there is an unshakable stillness. The practice is not to create stillness, but to uncover it, to return to it over and over again until it becomes your natural state. Modern life is filled with distractions. The constant noise of technology, the demands of work, the pressure to constantly achieve, it all pulls us away from our stillness. We live in a world that prizes busyness, that measures worth by productivity. But true productivity is not about doing more. It is about doing less but with more presence. True success is not about striving but about being. The greatest victory is not about what we achieve, but about who we become in the process. When we find our stillness, we are no longer slaves to the external world. We become the masters of our own lives. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, "You have the right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions." This is the essence of stillness, the understanding that we are not attached to the outcome. We act because it is our duty, our calling, our responsibility, but we do not grasp at the result. The result is not in our control. What is in our control is our response, our actions, and our presence in the moment. Stillness allows us to act without attachment to the result. In practice, this means letting go of the need to control everything. It means accepting that some things are beyond our influence and trusting that the universe will unfold as it should. It means surrendering to the flow of life rather than fighting against it. And it means finding peace in knowing that whatever happens, you are whole. You are enough. You are already complete. Stillness is also the key to true freedom. We often think that freedom means having no limitations, being able to do whatever we want. But true freedom is not the absence of limitations. It is the ability to remain calm, grounded, and clear, no matter what circumstances arise. In stillness, we are free from the grip of our desires, our fears, and our attachments. We are free to be ourselves fully in every moment. And in that freedom, we can live with authenticity, integrity, and peace. The practice of stillness begins with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present in the moment without judgment. It is the art of paying attention to what is happening right now, without the interference of thoughts, distractions, or judgments. When you are mindful, you are not lost in the past or the future. You are simply here, fully alive in the present moment. One way to practice mindfulness is through breathing exercises. Simply close your eyes and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. When thoughts arise, simply observe them without judgment and return your focus to your breath. This simple practice helps to calm the mind and bring you back to your center. Over time, you will find that you are able to maintain stillness even in the midst of chaos. Another powerful practice is meditation. In meditation, you sit quietly and observe the thoughts that arise in your mind. You do not judge them, nor do you try to control them. You simply notice them, allow them to pass, and return to your breath. With practice, meditation helps to cultivate the inner stillness that allows you to face the world with calm, clarity, and compassion. Stillness also reveals your true self. In the stillness, you are not your thoughts, your emotions, your stories. You are the awareness that observes them. When you sit in stillness, you begin to see that you are not the roles you play, the identities you wear, or the experiences you've had. You are the presence beneath it all. This recognition is the key to liberation. You are free from the need to prove yourself, to fight for your worth, to chase external validation. You are enough just as you are. As you deepen your practice of stillness, you begin to feel a profound sense of peace. This peace is not a fleeting feeling. It is a deep, unshakable state of being. It is the peace of knowing that you are connected to something greater than yourself, something eternal, something beyond the fluctuations of the mind. This peace is your true nature, your home. When you live from this place of stillness, you see the world through different eyes. You are no longer reactive, no longer controlled by fear or desire. You respond to life with clarity and compassion. You act from a place of wisdom, not impulsiveness. You are at peace no matter what happens, and that peace radiates outward, touching everyone around you. This is the final victory, not a victory over others, but a victory over the illusions that bind you. The victory of stillness, of being fully present in the moment, of knowing who you are beyond the thoughts, emotions, and stories that once defined you. This is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to live with grace, peace, and love, no matter what life brings. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of awareness. It is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of compassion. It is not the absence of challenges. It is the presence of clarity. In stillness, you are more fully alive than ever before, for you are not controlled by the distractions of the world. You are rooted in your true self. And so, in the end, stillness is the final victory. It is the victory of being present, of being awake, of being free. It is the victory of peace. And it is the victory that can never be taken from you. It is the victory that lies within always. Over the course of this journey, we've explored some of the deepest and most profound teachings, ideas, and practices for transforming the inner landscape of the mind. Each section has uncovered a piece of the puzzle, offering insights that connect directly to our experiences and challenges in the modern world. At its core, the journey has been about reclaiming our power over our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions, so that we can live more consciously, peacefully, and purposefully. We began by confronting the battlefield of the mind, acknowledging that we are constantly under siege by our thoughts. The mind is a constant stream of noise, emotions, memories, and distractions. Yet we learned that we do not need to be at the mercy of this turmoil. Awareness is the key. By becoming conscious of our thoughts, by choosing which ones to embrace and which to release, we begin to shift our relationship with the mind. We are not the thoughts that come and go. We are the observer, the one who watches them rise and fall. We then ventured into the concept of seeds. Each thought, belief, or perception is like a seed planted in the soil of the mind. The seeds we plant today will shape our future. If we plant thoughts of fear, anger, and regret, those seeds will sprout and take root, creating a life filled with these very experiences. But if we plant seeds of compassion, gratitude, and courage, the garden of our mind will flourish with those qualities. The harvest we reap is determined by the seeds we sow, and it's up to us to choose what we wish to cultivate. As we delved deeper, we discovered that awareness is the watchman at the gate of our minds. It guards the door to our inner world, choosing which thoughts and emotions are allowed to enter and take root. Without awareness, we become passive observers of our thoughts, letting them control us. But when we cultivate awareness, we take back control. We recognize that we are not our thoughts, and we can choose which thoughts we align with. Awareness transforms our relationship with the mind, allowing us to experience peace even in the midst of chaos. We then explored the process of transforming shadows into light. Anger, fear, envy, regret, all of these are shadows that can cloud our hearts and minds. But when we face them with awareness and compassion, we begin to see that these shadows are not enemies to be destroyed. They are opportunities for growth. Beneath every shadow lies a lesson, a gift. Anger can become compassion, fear can become courage, and regret can become wisdom. By transforming our shadows, we not only free ourselves from their grip, but also create a life that is lighter, more joyful, and more aligned with our true nature. The teachings of the mirror and the sky revealed to us that our minds are like mirrors, reflecting whatever is placed before them. Thoughts, emotions, and experiences are reflected in the mirror of the mind, but they do not define us. Just as the sky remains unchanged by the passing clouds, our true essence remains untouched by the transient nature of thoughts and emotions. By disidentifying with our thoughts, we open the door to true freedom. We are not the clouds, we are the sky. We also discovered the power of discipline and patience, the twin guardians of our inner garden. Without discipline, we are scattered, chasing after every thought and desire. Without patience, we grow frustrated when results are not immediate. But when discipline and patience work together, we create a steady, sustainable path to transformation. Discipline helps us show up every day, even when we don't feel like it. Patience reminds us that growth takes time, and that the seeds we plant today may not bear fruit tomorrow, but they will bear fruit eventually. Finally, we explored the ultimate victory, stillness. In the chaos of modern life, we often think of victory as something loud, something external. But true victory is the quiet strength of stillness. Stillness is not passive. It is the calm presence that allows us to face any challenge with clarity and peace. In stillness, we find the freedom to be ourselves, unshaken by the storms of life. It is in stillness that we find the deepest form of liberation, the victory of the mind, the heart, and the soul. The deep lesson, reclaiming the power of awareness. Throughout this journey, the most powerful lesson is this: you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. In every moment, you have the power to choose which thoughts to embrace and which to release. You are not a passive participant in the chaos of your mind. You are the observer, the one who can see thoughts without being consumed by them. This is the key to inner freedom. In our modern world, it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of thoughts, emotions, and distractions. We live in a culture that encourages us to chase after external success, to be constantly busy, to prove our worth through achievements. But true peace does not come from external accomplishments. It comes from cultivating stillness within. It comes from recognizing that you are not defined by your thoughts, your past, or your circumstances. You are the awareness that watches it all, and in that awareness, you find the greatest freedom. This lesson is not about escaping reality, it's about fully embracing it. It's about engaging with life in a way that is rooted in peace, clarity, and compassion. When you learn to see your thoughts as passing clouds, you free yourself from their control. You can respond to life from a place of presence and wisdom rather than reactivity. You can experience the world without being swept away by it. How to apply this lesson to your life? So how can you apply this lesson to your daily life? Start by practicing awareness. Begin with small moments. When you wake up in the morning, take a moment to simply breathe, to be present, and to notice your thoughts. When you feel a wave of emotion rise, whether it's anger, fear, or joy, pause and ask yourself, am I this emotion, or am I the one who is aware of it? Practice disidentifying with your thoughts. When a negative thought arises, remind yourself, this is just a thought, not my truth. When a judgment arises, say to yourself, this is just a thought, not the reality. The more you practice this, the more space you create between yourself and your thoughts. Cultivate compassion for yourself and for others. Remember that everyone is facing their own struggles, their own thoughts, their own clouds. Treat yourself with kindness when you falter, and treat others with understanding when they do the same. And finally, cultivate stillness. Make time each day to sit in silence, to meditate, to connect with your true self. It doesn't have to be long. 5 or 10 minutes can make a difference. Stillness is not something you achieve. It is something you simply allow. The more you allow stillness to settle into your life, the more you will find clarity, peace, and presence in every moment. We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts after hearing this journey? How have you experienced the relationship between your inner world and outer reality? Do you believe that stillness can transform the way you experience life? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and grow together. Don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism in every moment for more content like this. Your support is what keeps us creating and sharing meaningful teachings. Together, we can continue to explore the path to inner peace, awareness, and true freedom.